What's up, everybody? Retro Gaming Guy here. So I have with me Chris right here from Blamcon. So hope everybody's doing well, though, and I'm going to give you guys the link for the giveaway first before we get kicked off here with Chris. But welcome, Chris, to the channel, please. Really appreciate you coming on here with me too. It's definitely a real treat because you're working on some really amazing stuff, Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Chase. Hey, thanks for having me on, man. This is awesome. I caught your stream for the first time last week. It was really entertaining with Retro Ralph.
Sweet.
Good stuff, man.
Good. Yeah, I love Retro Ralph. It was so great to talk with him, and you never know how this stuff's going to go. Especially Ralph and I have known of each other for a long time, but never actually sat down and had any type of conversation. So it was a lot of fun to just kind of get acquainted with him in front of everybody. This is a weird sort of combination, but it certainly worked out. So I'm going to jump into YouTube. So I go in through StreamYard, which you know because you're with me, but for everybody else, it doesn't allow me to actually pin stuff. So I'm going to just jump into YouTube like you guys are and just pin the giveaway link because I did forget to do that last week. And I do want to apologize for that because just got, tied up in the conversation with Ralph and let it slip my mind. So I just want to jump in here real quick with you guys and just provide that. Then it's there and we can jump into things with Chris. So bear with me 1 second here, guys.
While you're doing that, just a fun note. This is my first time actually trying live streaming.
Oh, nice, nice.
I've done live streaming with companies and things like that, but in terms of YouTube.
Sure. So never with a wider audience like YouTube then. Yeah,
always behind closed doors, sir.
There you go.
I'll mind my P's and Q's. Just in case, though, I'm just gonna I'm not actually going to say a naughty word, but I'm gonna push my swear button and just see, just in case. Did that beep?
It did beep. That's
nice,
what Perfect Storm Gaming needs over there. I'm just messing with you, Vito.
Hey, Vito. Right. He's actually the one who let me know about your stream last week, actually.
And shout out to Vito. He actually got me in touch with you, so I really appreciate that. Yeah, because I saw you were in the live chat, and I do want to make mention that last week I just wasn't as active in the live chat because navigating, a guest on here and also keeping up with that and then trying to man the giveaways is definitely a challenge sometimes. So I do want to just, address that. I apologize. I'll try to be more involved with you guys today. All right, so I'm almost done pulling all this together here. Not the king of multitasking by any means, but all right, so here is the giveaway link for everybody. Let me see if I can label this. I suppose I could have did this before too. That would have made more sense. And so guys, give me a couple comments in the live chat, just because for some reason, this is something that YouTube does where they put that little icon thing up. And until it gets to like 2 comments, I can't actually pin anything because it gets blocked by the little heart in the corner. So annoying the way that they have that laid out. There we go. Perfect, guys. All right, so we can pin that. Everybody's seeing the pin up at the top. Looks good on my end. All right, we're off. Sweet. So let me just jump in here and just make sure everything's good with everybody. Everybody can hear us okay, and we're good to rock and roll here. Kind of changed I kind of have a mobile mic today, so trying new things so I'm not confined to the desk so much. I didn't see Perfect Storm Gaming. Okay, Tallywhacker. Got it. Sweet. Got it, Vito. Thank you. All right, so we're going to dive into it. We usually start off kind of slow here with viewers, and then it'll kind of pick up. But cool thing about this is it is, totally viewable later on as well. So there's always a replay on here. But we do have the giveaway, which is an Ambernic RG35XXH handheld game console. So click the link up here at the top of your screen, and we're going to get started. So you are one of 4 behind Blamcon. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So, and give me a little bit of info on your background, because I started to ask Chris questions actually before we got started. After I told him I don't want to ask you too many questions because I want to save it for the live stream, And I started asking questions anyways, and he put me in my place and said, we're going to save that for the live stream. So now it's time. Spill.
Well, I have a very complicated background, so
Sure.
it would take a while to start. The first off,
Okay.
to address the question you put to me before this. Oh, first off, how clear is my audio?
Crystal clear.
Sorry.
For me,
Okay,
anyways.
perfect.
I assume for everybody.
Yeah, that R2D2 in the background there, Loco, is part of actually something I do semi for a living. I do a lot of things for a living. I do work in media. I am not, however, a Hollywood prop designer. I have designed props for productions. I have worked on productions. I actually used to be in TV overseas in Korea. I have actually prepared an embarrassing photo. Hopefully I'm trying to proxy this through OBS. This is what I used to do. Does that come through?
It comes through. I actually saw that on one of your recent videos. You put that up there. So that was a future
That's why I
question here.
grabbed
So
it. Yes, I have a long history with media and TV, but I now actually work in corporate because I have kids, I have a mortgage, I have bills to pay, I have lots of friends who work in the props and film industry. I still keep in careful touch with them, but I don't lead the crazy life anymore, sir. Not
gotcha.
at least for a living. But this kind of thing is the extent of my craziness now.
Well, you
Old
seem to
habits
be
die hard.
immersed in it, to say the least. And one thing that actually, obviously, your content is absolutely incredible. And for anybody that's into light gun content in general or light gun gaming is going to love it. But I love to just kind of take a look at what you have going on in the background, because you have a similar setup with your demo videos as what you have right now. I mean, I can get lost just looking at what you have going on behind you. So you seem to have a lot of different models for what you're creating, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. So what started Blamcon, which is basically, to sum it up for those that don't know, this is a light gun controller project. Is that fair to say?
It's a light gun ecosystem. I
Okay.
would like to say it's
Okay.
everything. It's the hardware, it's the software, it's the electronics, the components, the models, the whole thing.
Excellent. Excellent. So what do you have there? Because you have, as you mentioned, as I mentioned, you have a lot of different models that I've seen you kind of testing out and working on. But that one has the slide action on it and everything, right?
Yeah, I can plug her in. This may go in with the background. Actually, originally I started as Props 3D with Craig, my good buddy and pal.
Okay.
I create interactive props as Props 3D. You'll see here like the stones from Fifth Element. There's only two of the four. I ripped out all of the stuff. I have a whole other set of things, but I was like, you know what? I'm going on to your live stream about light guns. Show some
Mhm.
light guns. The R2D2 there as well. That was done with Craig. That's actually artificially intelligent. It self-drives. It recognizes objects, things like that.
Wow.
So all of the projects we do are released for free. All the code for things like a good ones are Dread Lawgiver up there. I'll get that down in a bit. That's our most recent project. That was actually a build on the RPF. We worked with the original prop designer, Michael VK.
Wow.
Amazing guy. Showed us all the little details he put in there. Meticulously modeled that. It has voice recognition. It has a lot of modes. I can go through it later if you want to see it. I
Yeah,
actually have a light
absolutely.
gun version of this as well. Adam Savage actually purchased one and has one in his collection as well. Met him a few
Wow.
weeks ago. He actually signed that one for me, which was kind of cool.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, like Props 3D is me and Craig doing fun things. We have a community on Discord. Through the Lawgiver run, actually, Paul got involved. Paul is Beaks from Beaks Builds on YouTube,
Okay.
an amazing engineer. He actually, and that's why, I don't like to ever say I am Blamcon. It's a team, right? Craig writes
Right,
the
right.
code. I do the models. We work together in the electronics. Paul did the PCBs. And the big thing I want to point out is these amazing paint jobs. You want to talk about the
For
prop
sure.
designer.
For
That's
sure.
Mike. Mike is
Hey,
just an incredible artist and designer. He helps concept models with me. He paints all these up. So we all work as a team.
well, it definitely is coming together beautifully. And I've been just kind of going through, again, like I said, your videos, but also your website is really well put together. and it highlights a lot of your models here. And I was looking at, I don't know the exact name of it off the top of my head, but it was the shotgun one, and you were recently demoing that with a game that
The one
you're.
up there, or
Was it
the
that
which
one?
one? There's two
It was
shotguns. There's
like
one down
the,
there.
it might not have been a
A
shotgun. It
double
was
barrel.
the,
I got lots of
yeah,
shotguns.
the double barrel.
Double
That's
barrel?
what it
Oh
was.
yeah, I'll get that out in a sec. Let me just
Uh-huh.
show you this one because you asked me first. Otherwise,
Oh,
so
I'm
there's
all
one
over the
thing
place,
though.
so buckle up.
I oh yeah, I got like 20 of these. I threw them all. They're double layered. You can't see them all really if I lift my desk up a bit.
Sure.
Here you see I got the pulse rifle up
Okay.
there. That's the pump action shotgun, and yeah, I'm gonna may have to real careful about moving them because I'll have a gun launch, and I don't have an
Oh, I'm
infinity of
sure.
these. So I set up some sensors over there. So yeah, there you go. Hopefully you can see it cycle.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Absolutely.
gonna try to bring it up. Bring it a little closer to the camera so you can see it cycle. That's in semi-auto. And
Yep.
there's a selector switch in the other side. I'll show you in a sec. And that is
Wow.
full auto on there.
That
So
is
these,
crazy.
we already have MAME hooker built in, full MAME hooker support,
Hmm.
but there's just not many systems that actually use it. And we also, our big thing is to support new games and new IP in
Okay.
Windows. There's a surprisingly large number of light gun games in Steam, but not a lot of them are contemporary. So
Right.
we're trying to work with some game developers to try to bring out some new IPs. And part of that is building the interactivity between the games and the system. But where you don't have it, one of the things that really bothers me is like I pick up a pistol and I'm in full auto mode and it's just hammering away or vice versa, So
Sure.
we have an override here in the form of an actual working selector switch
Oh,
will
okay.
change
All right.
between full auto and semi-auto.
That's
There's
awesome.
also an in-game menu. I'll go through, or sorry, in-gun menu as well. But
Sure.
here, feature rundown real fast. So this actually is a D-pad in the side. We are working with another gaming company, which I don't want to name right now because it's a concept. It's big. It's super cool. We'll hopefully reveal it in May. But, navigation in games is a big issue. So this actually allows you to navigate up, down, left, right. There's your jump, your crouch in there. So you can actually play your FPS games on this. This magazine
Incredible.
actually pulls to reload. So when you let it go, it snaps back into place. I know some of them are hit on the bottom, but
Yeah.
a lot of the reasons I do what I do is because these are the ones I want, right? This is actually the
Sure.
form factor exactly of an HK-MP5. So it has the best ergonomics. And there's a lot of decisions here, like on a light gun, you want to be as close as possible. So I don't want that big, stupid barrel. So when you hold the front grip, the camera's pretty much flush with your
Right.
hand
Right.
there. Yeah,
It
your
looks like it would be
buttons.
a comfortable setup for sure.
Yeah, I find it pretty good. And then you have your A and B button up here, and there's an alternate one here. I've actually switched this so you have a righty and a lefty version now because I figure you just make the one you want. But this is the
Yeah. Absolutely.
ambidextrous version. Yeah,
That's
and
awesome. So you
so
could play Wii games with that because you have all those extra controls.
yeah,
Whereas,
this
you've been able to do that with some light guns currently, but it's always awkward, in my opinion, even with the original Wii controllers, the Wii remotes. It's just not, a smooth experience, in my opinion, anyways. Maybe if you're used to using that since its inception, but yeah, it's kind of awkward. So that looks like that would be really comfortable to play pretty much anything with.
Yeah, we're working on more ergonomic versions, and right now this is a digital D-pad, and I know people are going to want analog as well. So
Hmm.
we're working on this is actually Bluetooth and Wi-Fi enabled. Those are future
Wow.
features.
Hmm.
But every Blamcon we're making has these features built in. I mean, one of the amazing things about this being 3D printed is that you can iterate. If you're
Sure.
printing them yourself, and there's an upgrade version. There's either a kit or a process to get the latest version.
Wow. It seems like you've thought of everything. So, how long have you guys been working on this for?
Hmm. Well, this was first brought up to us. So on the Props 3D Discord, this is where we get most of our project ideas. And a gentleman by the name of Ron joined our Discord probably this time last year and said, "Hey, have you guys thought of turning one of your models into a light gun?" I'm like, "TRT TVs are dead, man." And then he
Yeah,
introduced me to the world of modern light guns,
sure.
and the rest. Oh, I wouldn't even call the rest history. Like, I guess the very short story is I tried it out. I wasn't super satisfied with what was there. I tried two of the existing models. They didn't really work for me. And then I went and modeled the one. this one, which is my current favorite. This is actually painted by my daughter. And the light gun I wanted, the Colt Python.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can actually show that in action. This has a solenoid built in as well. It'll take a couple seconds for the computer to recognize it. There you go. See, the hammer actually works.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
then this is the awesome things about having people like Craig around. Craig, we sort of grumbled about it for a bit, and Craig went off for a bit, came back a week later, and wrote a new light gun operating system. He's sort of one of these wild Rain Man kind of people. Anything you can imagine. I mean, I used to write my own code, and I wrote my own code for things like the E11 and the Mando Blaster. Sorry, this is in reverse. And but
that
it's
gets
like
me every time. I'm always pointing to the wrong. Like I just went to point to the T2, and I just did it too. So I get it.
Like this is a good example of sort of our classic prop. It's actually signed by Paul Lee. There, he came by. We have a booth every year where we show off a lot of the stuff we do. You can hear that boot up, and then so this is an example of an interactive prop. And I used to write the very simple code for this, but then when Craig got involved and created our GitHub repo, he just created this massive extensible library for props. And since then, I've been trying to challenge him. And I mean, the light gun was probably the ultimate challenge. It took him less than a week. He's going to hit me up after with exactly how much time. And he basically rewrote the whole thing. And yeah, we've been iterating from there. We sort of just got it working and sat on it a bit till maybe like August or so. And then we got back.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, you're asking.
No, I was going to say, you guys are definitely getting a lot of traction, though, on YouTube. I mean, I know that Retro Ralph has kind of shouted you guys out, but I've seen you pop up a lot lately, and a lot of people are talking about this new light gun company. So people are definitely, excited about this in a big way, because this definitely seems to be just next level in every possible way, not just appearance, but just even on, the software side of things. It seems absolutely incredible that you've included so much into these light guns. Now, you mentioned before that you tested out some of the modern day light guns. Does that mean you tested out like Sinden, aim track, stuff like that?
Oh, let's see if this works. Boop. There we go. So this is my set I'm just building. I think you've maybe seen some of my light guns in the videos. This is a whole new setup I'm working on right now, and
I've seen maybe a third of what you have visible right there. So
let me make it bigger. So
insane.
Down the side we have you can't see my mouse cursor. Down the side you'll see the 6 contemporary light guns there.
Okay, so you got retro shooters, Sinden. Is that must be gun for IRs up at the top there?
Actually, that's a Samco. I haven't actually got it working yet. I got the M4 for it. Oddly, I didn't do much testing because, again, I sort of just got into it and got into seeing what's out there. And then Craig came back and like, hey, I rewrote the whole thing. And I really haven't touched much yet. Also, too, they all use different sensors and different setups. I mean, I've got a lot of classic ones on here, like you see the Wii on there. That Star Wars gun at the top underneath the PS3 one's actually the Super Happy Fun, which is a standalone light gun system. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of these use different sensor configs. So I just finished modding this machine. This machine's from Integrum Retro. Actually, I think Integrum Retro, I got the logo down there, is also exactly the same as Extreme Gaming Cabinets USA. So we've been working with them to try to get things like MAME Hooker working. Jason's been awesome. He's been auditing all the INI files for that. And we just did an expo as well, and we're using Jason's drive for that. I mean, it's powered by. I don't mean to say we're exclusive to him at all, and that's mutual. It's just when I first, there's so many stories here, but one of the biggest ones is when I first got into this, the big thing was games, right? What am I going to play? And I got some of the images off of Arcade Punks, and I got a few from different people who distribute drives, and they were all kind of difficult to deal with. Yeah, to put it mildly. I think that's a problem a lot of people have. Yeah. And then I just went on to the Light Gun Lunatics Facebook group, which I discovered through through Ron again. Thanks, Ron. And then actually, whoa, let me bring that down there. And then yeah, everybody's like, you got to get the Integrum Retro Drive. You got to get the Integrum Retro Drive, and I paid for it out of pocket. And then I have to say, and I'm going to put this to everybody, when I get a retro drive, they always have the instructions: disable your virus scanner, bypass this, bypass that. No, this is my home network, right? So I'm terrified of these things, and then I got 2 hits on the drive when I scanned it. I actually talked to Jason. Mm-hmm. And he's like, it's this game and this game. They're both Technoparrot games, and they're both generic Trojans, Right. And then he was like, I'm like, yeah, it's exactly those games. And so he knew what was on there. He could defend what was there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen like a lot of it is, I mean, I guess if you're not going to ever connect to Wi-Fi, it's not as concerning. But I've seen like a lot of tracking Trojans and stuff like that, which aren't necessarily. I mean, any sort of compromise to your network is never good. But yeah, that's a legitimate concern about anything. And I talked about this, I think, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? But Ace Magic had an issue where their new mini PCs, basically the backstory is somebody in manufacturing for them put on some malware to basically steal people's information. And it went out into production and it got passed around, on Amazon and stuff like that. So in that process, it just brings awareness that we have to be scanning literally everything now in this day and age, not just, I know game drives are something that most people are thinking about doing that anyways, but when you think about buying a brand new PC, the last thing you think about doing is adding, stuff in to do an initial scan right off of the bat. And when you're setting up a new PC, that's when you're putting in so much of your information. So it's just, I know I'm getting off track, but it's just a crazy world where, we have to, scan everything and just be totally concerned about every aspect of all this stuff. So I can definitely understand that concern there.
Oh, it's right on track for retro, really. I mean, that's exactly the point, right? You have to be careful of these. And we're far more interested in contemporary offerings anyway, and working with new gaming companies, because as much as I love retro, all these, what was retro was contemporary, and it was always driven ahead by change,
Right.
And in the heyday of PS2, I mean, how many light guns were there? I mean, right now you go onto eBay, you see all the hundreds of different offerings, right? It was a staple, right? So when I was a kid, I got the original NES for Christmas, me and my brother. And it came with Duck Hunt. It came with a light gun. They were things they just came with. They were staples. And now, these days they're sort of the unobtainium for home experience, right?
Yeah, 100%. I can totally agree with that. It's a different world, and I think it's just a different world in general, but yeah, everything's changing so much from what it once was, and not always for the better, in some cases. But I just want to jump into some of these comments here, because I'm seeing a lot of people saying basically take my money now. So for those that are wondering, because I've seen this come up a few times here, and the live chat is just scrolling really quickly for me here, so I apologize if I'm not pinpointing anybody at the moment, but how would anybody obtain this once you are done? So I know you're offering things for free, like and I'm not going to use the proper terms because I'm not 3D savvy and 3D printing savvy or any of that stuff. But you're basically offering the plans up once you develop stuff for free. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah, that's sort of our tenant.
And I love that, because we're in a time now where nothing is free. You know what I mean? Like nobody has that sense of community anymore, it seems. So I love that. But for those that don't, like, I'm an idiot when it comes to 3D printing. I know nothing about it. I'm fascinated by it, but I've just never, and I'll never have the time to dive into it. But for somebody like me, how do we get something like this? Are you guys going to offer like, a more premium option for people that don't want to 3D print their own guns?
Oh, is that the end? Yeah. Okay. Let me. there's a lot of aspects to this and to this question. Keep in mind
Sure.
that in general, as Prop 3D over the years, we just give away the models and code, and that's it.
Okay.
Moving along, right? This is an entirely different area for us. And we do see the value in this as a product, but we don't want to compromise our value. So at the same time, we think we have a middle ground that works. But you have to understand, like, I have a shop. Craig has a shop. I see Craig joined in. Hey, Craig. So
Welcome, Craig.
The mastermind behind the code and all of this is here to answer questions. I see him lighting up the chat there. And, you know, when I'll give a good example. Actually, I just want to get this one down. So this is one we did offer for sale. This is the Dread Lawgiver. We actually got permission from the original prop designer, and we offered a limited run. And here, you see it boot up. I have to hold down the trigger for the ID recognition there.
Gotcha.
So this is all fully electronic, you know. It actually, and this one, when we offered the limited run for sale, it sold out in less than a day. And when we offered the follow-up run, it sold out in about, was it, Craig, like 10 minutes or something like that? It was kind of crazy. But the thing is, this is great. Yay, got all these sales. But then, you know, what was it? It was Craig and I sitting there, and my wife helped out a lot, sanding away these things by hand, preparing them. There's a lot of metal parts in there. Paul did the metal barrels in here and the metal triggers that went in. And to be honest, it's not very scalable, right?
No,
I could have,
I can understand that for sure.
Yeah, offer a bunch of these for sale.
Right.
You know, I have a bunch of these. I can go grab you an arm load, actually, and then, but the thing is, if I do that, that's it. They're gone.
Right.
You know, and then what? You're not going to see it for 2 more months. So what I'm doing is working with Mike, and we're setting up kind of mirrored shops. Like between me and my wife in the last 4 days, we created 800 IR sensors, which one should be lying around. Like, these are the little infrared sensors. It's yeah, they're set into bars.
And how many of those would you use for one light gun? Or, I mean, it wouldn't matter how many you're using, I suppose, but, or how many light guns you're using with it. But per setup, are you using 4, one on, you know, each centerpiece?
2 up, 2 down. That is got a mathematical superiority to any other. I can show you diagrams. We spent a while laying it out, and I laid it out all in 3D. The thing is, you want to track your gun in 3D space, right?
Sure.
You know, you talk about something like the PlayStation 3, it's got a little glowy thing, it tracks in one dimension, right? And so you turn it, you move it, whatever. It's you're kind of aiming over there, it's going over there, right? One thing we wanted like 100% is pixel accuracy. So when you talk about a 3D object, you usually have a tri or quad poly, right? You have the triangle or you have 4, right? There's 2 ways of doing a 3D object. When it comes to the bars, you want to, you know, you can track on 2 very accurately, you know, if you go off, up, or down. So with the bar up and the bar down, it creates the largest space that you can pan across and move and keep 4 visible. And then if you lose some sensors, you're going to lose 2. And so what that means is on 2, you can still track accurately. Look at most systems that are out there use 2. And Craig's written a fantastic algorithm that actually tracks the speed of your cursor and where you're going to do a lot of predictive measuring to make sure that when you do go off, it tracks really well. I mean, that's something we'll be demoing a lot in future videos and showing you rather than telling you. But right now, I lack a TV. And the other reason for this is accessibility as well. You can just use a couple of Wii bars. I mean, I'm going to snap it off the TV, which I'm going to regret later. Oh, it's really taped on there. There we go.
The Mayflash Dolphin bar?
No, it's just a $4 AliExpress bar. This is, you know, on my 1 millisecond gaming monitor, which I use to test light guns on. It works fine, right? So this means, you know, if you don't want to buy these from us, or make these, whatever, just go buy a couple of $4 Wii bars and you got yourself a Blamcon setup. These bars do not put out the output. Like, we're also, you know, using quality parts. Like, all of our pivot points are brass pins, which we hand cut and machine. We machine a lot of parts into this to ensure like a really good trigger and really good hammer.
Yeah. I
And
mean, it
we
seems like
only
top
use,
quality. I will say that. So, I mean, that certainly does impact scalability on something like this. But I
yeah, I can
mean,
get into the scalability just to finish. Yeah, these are like the best Osram LEDs, the best,
mhm,
and they're splayed out in an angle that gives you the best coverage, etc. We want to be able to offer a quality product, but in order to be affordable, we're working on scale.
gotcha.
A good example is we just did an expo a couple weeks ago, which we're still recovering from. We all got sick. Actually, here's a photo from it. You go. That's Mike sitting in the chair with Craig, and
That's awesome.
we did Vancouver Fan Expo. It's basically a 3-day nonstop torture test of Blamcon. This is something, worth so much to us because we got to
Yeah.
see how well they last. We estimate that the Sonoids got the better part of 250,000 actuations a day, just hammering away. So we were able to really evaluate. Actually, let me see. There's another picture there. And then also test, all folks of different shapes and sizes.
Sure. And how many times the kids will drop it and beat on it. So that's good for.
Oh yeah, they dropped it plenty of times onto
I'm sure.
concrete.
I'm
I'm hoping
sure.
I got
I'm sure.
someone. And that's the other thing too, right? With a 3D printed product, some people think they're not that strong. So what do we use for materials, right? Sourcing.
Right.
We've got there's a group of chemical engineers over in Vancouver Island who've created what they call performance PLA from Matter 3D. The stuff is insane, and that's what we're using. I will be testing. I bought like a lot of testing equipment, like force gauges, things like that, to run them
Sure.
against. Some of our light guns in the wall may meet abysmal fate in a future video to compare the two, but we want to be sure, they're not breakable. I mean, on the other side too, one of the fantastic things is if anything can be broken, that's
Of
for
course.
sure,
Yeah.
right?
Of course.
And one of the things with something like the Viper, you have a lot of pieces and things sticking out, right? Again, I have it on footage, people dropping them on concrete. They are strong, but if the worst does happen, you just take out 6 screws, you take the side off, you take the part, boop, stick a new part in. It's done. Can't source it from
Fair
us,
enough.
3D print it. Easy peasy.
You're killing the capitalists in the room because you can basically do everything that you would need at home as long as you're 3D savvy or 3D printing savvy. So yeah, I mean,
I'll
you're
give you
making
the
it.
asterisk all on it. I mean, the things we've been giving these away for years, right? But we don't have people selling our designs. Why not?
Right.
Because we do have first off, the 3D printing community is amazing. We barely ever have to deal with anybody trying to sell our designs or things with our code preloaded. That's so rare. That also makes us very comfortable in doing something like this.
Right.
It is under a GPL3 non-commercial license. So,
Okay.
we're not letting people just sell it, really. We want to empower makers. We want to empower people who are on a budget. We don't want, just have make all the money from our hard work. That's not fair.
No, and that.
Gonna grab this. Like, this is why we think this will work. First off, this is called the Blamcon Core. And it will not focus. Actually, if I do manual focus, it'll come off. You can go into the Blamcon website if you want to see it. I got lots of videos on this, but this is something we make in house. This is surface mount soldered. This has everything. This is a light gun on a chip. Everything's labeled. You just solder the wires and anything becomes a light gun. Every Blamcon you have here, it handles rumble, it handles recoil, it handles the camera, it handles everything.
So that's the core of everything that you have going on.
Yep. It's all goes to this, and it is easy peasy, and we'll be offering it at an affordable price. This is the thing. If you want to source the parts yourself, you want to build it yourself, you want to do all the soldering of the tiny little components, we think there's enough people who would just want to print themselves and then get one of these at an affordable price as a kit, and that is one thing we'll be offering as kits. Go for it. On the second side, there's a lot of people who just don't want the faff of any of this, and we are working on scalable production. I mean, a good example is one thing we were a little disappointed with at the expo is this is one of the ones from the expo. This is one that was beaten to hell. It works great, but everybody's looking at the painted ones and they're, oh, sorry, I said a bit of a bad word. I don't think that's classified as a bad word anymore, is it?
You're
okay,
good.
sorry. I'm trying to be, so
So I
So
scare
like,
everybody because I always say that I'm PG on here, but anybody is free to talk however they want on the live streams. It doesn't bother me.
fair enough. Okay, I'll try my best, but
No, it's all good.
this we will be offering them like this. This is raw print. This is actually a beautiful color. These guys do amazing work on their filaments, but people want them painted, right?
Right,
Obviously, but the paint
right.
isn't scalable. So last week, Mike and I just went off and bought an entire hydro dipping business, lock, stock, and sinker, and ported it back to Mike's shop.
I
And
saw one of
actually,
your shorts recently where you were dipping something.
oh yeah, that's the hydro dip. Actually, I got a couple of dip examples, but keep in mind these aren't the final dips. We just got a lot of
Sure.
the supplies in last night. Mike's at home right now dipping away, but this is kind of the quality. A hydro dip is a
Looks awesome.
process used for real firearms. I mean,
Okay.
if you look at Nerf guns, they use something called pad printing. You basically get, I don't know if you know, for anybody who doesn't, it's a machine that's kind of like this spongy rubber thing, and it goes over to a metal plate that extrudes a bit of ink. It goes blut, it goes over, and it goes blut. And
Okay.
that's the only real way of fast painting things. The problem with that, of course, is we want to constantly iterate on these designs. So the
Right.
only technology on the market that will allow you to properly paint, unquote, something like this is called hydro dipping, which is a process used for treating firearms. Whenever you see a real firearm that has camo patterns, things like that, that's
Right.
how they
Right.
do it.
Okay.
Actually, a more fun design as well.
That's
And
pretty
so
cool.
using hydro dipping, we can now offer paint jobs at scale. I mean, we can offer the unpainted ones cheaper or painting
Of
yourself,
course.
right? Buy
Yeah.
a kit,
Yeah.
it's up to you.
Less.
But now we can offer these awesome designs at affordable prices. I mean, even though hydro
That's
dipping is
incredible.
generally a very expensive thing to get done, just
Hmm.
Google it. We can do them in bulk. We're making a machine we call the dip. I'm going to beat that. Hopefully, you can figure it out. That is sort of a robot that will
Sure.
repeatably dip the same things in. And Mike has already modified the tanks to be self-cleaning and all this stuff. So this is sort of what's taking us the time. We're going through the
Yeah.
different operations. How can we make this cheaper? How can we make it faster? How can we not compromise in the quality? And when we're very far along in this process, but when we're done, we will be able to offer these at a reasonable volume, at a reasonable speed. You
That's
know, we don't
awesome.
want, we're not in on this for one run. We're in on this for the long haul.
Absolutely. And what's the durability like on something like that that gets dipped for, the graphics and everything that you just showed there? Are they still super durable?
Yeah, the hydro dipping is a process you do to real field used firearms.
Sure.
We're
Gotcha.
going whole hog on this. And we will be using studio top coats as well that are extremely
Okay.
durable, that are made for use in high use environments to keep things like we're proper finishes, proper coatings.
Excellent.
you,
That's
you know
awesome.
it'll be
Well, it
more
seems like you
durable than
guys are
regular
just
paint.
it seems like everything is incredibly well thought out and you're always trying to make things more and more efficient. That's what I'm getting from all of this, which is awesome. I mean, we see so much stuff put out these days that is just poor quality. I mean, nothing really holds up anymore, especially with controllers. I mean, how many people have had issues with, even original controllers from Sony or from Microsoft for your Xbox? It's we're in a world where nothing is durable and well made. So it's refreshing to see somebody that's putting in, all these different steps to just make the highest quality out there. So, kudos to you guys for that. I think it's incredible. And I love the sense
Yeah.
of community, like I said before, that you guys are making this available to anybody that wants to get involved, regardless of what skill level they may have or may not have with all the different things involved. So let me jump into the. I've been neglecting the live chat here, and Retro Ralph is in the house. Awesome. So I want to open it up to you guys a little bit here too, because I'll be honest, I'm an idiot with all this stuff. I don't know anything about any of this stuff other than I think it's really cool, and I think that's just the general consensus here. And I do want to let you show off some more of the different models and stuff. But if anybody has questions, feel free to drop them in here. I'm paying closer attention to the live chat at the moment. My gun for IR is going on Marketplace tomorrow. What's the issue
Won't
with
have them
your
ready tomorrow.
What's your issue with your gun for IR? Just curious.
Yeah, I have a statement on that too. It seems to be
Yeah.
like this is really a different aspect to the world I'm used to. Um, you see, this E11 here, there's a lot of people have done E11s, but this E11 is mine. And that's a joke on that. Yeah, anyway. Those who get it will get it. This is, my interactive E11. This is actually featured in Bucketheads.
Okay.
Bucketheads is a Star Wars series by Transmute Pictures. Check them out online. They're absolutely
We'll do
incredible.
that.
Actually, that's the thing too about the whole do we do props. Yeah, I do it for Bucketheads. Here's me on set. This is Aaron Harrison or Harrison Dark Arts. He does things that he did the Arrow costume, Deathstroke, all sorts of stuff like
Wow.
that. So I do get a lot of connections with this, but it's hard work what he does. Really, I prefer my nice cushy corporate job. Thank you. And if I worked like him, I'm always going over to his shop and hanging out. He's working 7 days a week, right? He's just like producing props for movies is not for the faint of heart. And if I
No, I
did
can
that
only
for a living,
imagine.
I would not be able to do this. But back to
Sure.
my original point, is the fact that a lot of people have done the 11.
Well, so
If I get
popular.
together with 8 or 9 prop designers who have done the 11, well, I'll just be sharing them around and comparing and oh, awesome, 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 awesome.
Yeah.
But it seems like the one thing I keep coming across here is that it'll be like, oh, I'm going to throw out my gun for IR. Oh, is it better than this? Is it better than that? Like, look, it's a big world. This doesn't have to be a competitive thing, There's
Absolutely.
awesome offerings out there that work. There doesn't have to be one thing that rules them all, right? You
It's
got your
true.
Xbox, you got your PlayStation, you got your Switch, you got your little handhelds like you're giving away today.
Yep.
They can
It's
all
true.
live. Yeah. And it's up to reviewers like
That's for
you to
sure.
compare and decide what you like better. This is the double barrel you're asking about.
That's the one I was looking at. Yeah.
Yeah. This is, by the way,
That looks
signed by
amazing.
the Bruce Campbell himself. I met
Incredible.
him also a few weeks ago, and I just wanted to write groovy on it. He just gave me the dirtiest look. And I was like, okay, whatever you want, man. That's what he wrote on it. But this is actually here, plug that in, get it lined up. Oh, actually, I have to reset the solenoid. So it's working, but this is my test bed for solenoids. Actually, not this
Oh,
one.
okay.
This was my test bed for solenoids. Now it hangs on the wall since it's got the signature, but Mike did me up another one. We're doing things like testing huge solenoids in these things, huge recoil for people who want it. So you'll be able to select the solenoid. This rear stock is 2 screws. Whole end comes
Okay. I can
off.
see that now that you pointed out.
Select your recoil, right?
Excellent.
There's 2 screws on the back here. This was from a gentleman named Marshall from the Light Gun Lunatics group, again on Facebook, had that, idea. He's like, oh, I want that super huge recoil. I'm like, oh, I really don't want to do that because if I lock that in,
Yeah.
it's going to bother some people. It's like, well, can you make it with that? I'm like, actually, that's a really good idea. Why do I need one option, right? This is the
Right.
advantage to 3D printing as well. If I
It's
injection
crazy.
molded these, we'd be one design, boom, right?
Right. But
I mean,
there's
there's
so
a
many
great
different
story.
ways to do it. That's
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy that you can do all of that and have all those different options for people. Now, I do have one question here that I just put on the screen there. What operating system will Blamcon support? Which I think is a good one, but I think you touched on that a little bit earlier. But is this going to be possible to be used with just about anything, or is it going to be, one specific sort of OS?
Great thing about the models being freely available. Of course, we're going to use our own
That's what I
operating
figured.
system. I mean,
Sure.
Craig wrote it from scratch specifically for Blamcon. Everything works together. The things like the LED lights up, it's interactive with MAME Hooker, all that stuff. But if you, as the creative person, wants to make this, and I want to name names, but a certain person from another large endeavor into this that's been around for longer actually asked me about that. And you know what? I'm designing these for Blamcon. They are Blamcon, but the models are freely available. Do what you
Sure.
will.
Awesome.
Creativity is the spice of life.
Agreed. How are these different than the Sinden light gun other than look? Well, That seems you could probably list a million things for that, but
I get
I'll let
in
you
for
handle
some
that
of
one.
the advantages. Well, first off, let me. Ooh, I just about knocked a few over. 1 second here. I'm gonna. Where's my manual? The manual is on the website. Oh, give me a sec. Hope you don't mind me wandering off for a second.
No, no, not at all, not at all.
There.
One thing that
Oh, super lucky. This is. I'm super lucky because I have. The other room is full of boxes, and for me to open one box and find the thing I want,
yeah, it never
not
works out that
a
way.
common thing. So this is one thing I haven't touched on. This is Craig's magic here. This is the in-gun menu. These are true plug and play. A lot of people ask, what is plug and play? There's been a lot of back and forth, but to the definition of plug and play, as per set out in the computer industry, there is no drivers, no software that you need for a Blamcon. You plug it in, it just works as long as you have the IR sensor set up.
Right.
It works on Mac. We will be testing it on the new Batacera. I have it downloaded, but I've already tested this on my like 3-year-old Raspberry Pi modded Nintendo. It works fine.
One thing about Batacera is it seems like everything works on Batacera really nicely. So not to jinx it for you or anything like that, but Batacera just seems to be great at everything light gun. I've had just a phenomenal. I just put a Batacera setup into this because I was just curious. I wonder if Gun for IR is going to work with Batacera. I haven't seen it highlighted as much as some of the other options out there. Sinden's a big one that works very well there, but yeah, it seems like Batacera works very well with a wide range of light guns. So I will say that about them.
Well, we'll see tomorrow. As I
There you
downloaded the
go.
new image, I just burned it to a card, and now I have to set it up with Jason's machine. But another thing that's different too is the accuracy. I mean, just watch some of my videos. You see, I don't have crosshairs on. I'm using the iron sights, or in this case, this is an actual red dot, proper one. You can put real optics on it. And the one
Wow.
thing a lot of people don't get, it's not just about it being pixel accurate, which is something Craig's worked very hard on. It's also about a lot of these say shoot 4 points or do this or do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're also assuming you're taking those shots perfectly accurately. So
This is true. This is
for
true.
a rough calibration, that's fine, but we have fine-tuned calibration. Craig's built in a secondary calibration method that allows you to then go to the points in which you had previously lined up and actually drag your point of aim right in.
Wow.
And that will actually recalibrate it based on your first calibration to kind of create a pixel accurate calibration that's calibrated often. See, this is a thing too. I have been a lifetime hole puncher, which is the very polite word for somebody who has a vile hatred of stationary and punches very small holes in it with things very similar to this.
Mm-hmm.
And my best buddy and the godfather of my children is from South Africa, where there's a lot of he's been into this for his whole life, and there's a lot of focus on making this useful, let's say, to the hole punching community as a whole, which has been very displaced in recent years. So we want this to be something you can actually practice on. Like I've recently published a game to Steam, Blamcon Shooting Gallery, entirely free. It was also sort of as an exercise and a bit of a commitment to modern gaming. So it works with all light guns, and it is designed for people who speed hole punch. It's something that's based on accuracy, and that's the one I practice on, and no crosshairs. So if accuracy is your game, then
Yeah, that's one thing a
go
lot of
Blamcon.
people don't like with light gun games is the crosshairs. And that's something I've always, whenever I've done like a video showing off, you know, accuracy and stuff like that. Well, it's hard to tell, in a video what the accuracy truly is there because there's been no real testing other than, when you go through your initial setup for a game, you have to hit those 4 points, as you mentioned. Beyond that, I mean, nobody knows whether I'm aiming, I could be aiming over here and it be lining up on screen. There's no way to really track stuff like that. So, I mean, it's great to see that you have that attention to detail with everything. And I'm just seeing this from Retro Ralph here. That's an awesome suggestion there. You can offer every freaking gun bundle because I think everybody wants everything that you have behind you and on that display wall there. So I think that could be
Everything here that looks like a gun is a light gun. Even some of the things that don't. This is a light gun. There's your 8-pin port.
Wow.
Lightsaber light gun. It's fully functional. I have a video on this. I can go through a couple of the new ones too. This one's new. You probably know what game that's from. This is a brand new design.
Yeah.
Come on, somebody in the comments. Y'all know it.
I'll let them hit it. You know what? I before you actually pulled it up, I was thinking of Darkwing Duck. Do you remember the blaster from Darkwing Duck? That's what I thought of until you pulled it out further.
Very similar.
Yeah, very much so. That would be awesome to have a Darkwing Duck light gun. So now I'm giving you some ideas.
Blamcon.com. If you go to the guns, I have a voting page, and I keep a tally, and that tally's
check that
2 months out of date. But I have all the emails and the spreadsheets. I just free time is not my friend right now.
I'm sure.
This is an example. There is proper sites on this as well that actually work. They're a bit odd, but they do actually work. So everything is built around being able to turn off those crosshairs.
Excellent. RC from NYC, thank you so much. All good over here. Let's see what else we've got.
Ooh, this is actually one people keep asking about. There's one big thing people want is that slide recoil. Oh, this actually brings up a second thing too. There are two categories of Blamcons. The originals and the what's the word I'm looking for? It's on the site. I can't remember what PC word I chose for it, but essentially the very inspired designs. Like, come on, where's that from?
Is that now you put me on the spot now.
Oh, anybody can take this one. This is a sad story behind this too. Craig knows it. I didn't get done in time to meet. There you go. Broke Daddy Gamers got it. And yeah, the Auto 9 from RoboCop. I actually met Peter Weller last year, and I was modeling this. This is another awesome thing about, like, I haven't got into, like, Mike is, as you see, an incredible painter. That's because he is actually this display designer for Toy Traders, which is a haven for everything prop, toy, retro related. The place is absolutely incredible, and pretty much anything I can ask for, he just drops on my desk. So yeah, last year, like, oh, Peter Weller is going to be in town. I'm like, oh, I wish I had an Auto 9. An hour later, he shows up. It's like clunk. So through an exact reference. So this one actually has the slide recoil. You can see it.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah,
I saw you demoing that one on your one of your videos actually.
Yeah, and yeah, so it's
so how long does it take? How long would it take to 3D print something like that? Because again, I have no knowledge on anything 3D printing other than I just think it's fascinating, but I have no hands-on experience.
It depends on your 3D printer. I'd have to say I'll have recommendations. I'll have links when we publish. I'm creating, like you saw with this manual, I'm creating a manual for every light gun. Actually, if you want to see the detail I go through, just look at the Lawgiver video. Sorry, I slowly realized I'm collecting light guns on my lap, on the floor, on my keyboard. I got to start putting these things back.
No problem.
I have a video on how to go from a roll of plastic to this completed light gun on my channel, and I will be doing something like that for each. So even if you're a maker who has no experience, I'll have a full guide for you. And that guide I'm writing right now is actually part of our internal process for production. As I'm discovering each efficiency and each way to do it and getting that aha moment, I'm documenting that, and it'll be a manual sort of like this. This is the overall Blamcon manual, but I'll have like a Lego style manual that you can print yourself and then just go, whoa. I dropped. See, this is my problem with having everything. I just dropped it on my my video mixer.
No worries.
So you may want to answer a few questions and let me put these back here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to jump into the live chat here and catch up with everybody. All right, guys.
Please go.
Let's see. Yeah, you could do a video on every one of those and then do a short video, and you could have content for the rest of your life. I mean, you have so much content just sitting on your lap right there with all these guns. It's crazy. If you just did a video on, like you said, just step by step what goes into each one's production, I mean, I would be just on your page 24/7.
Well, all of the ones on the right-hand side there, when you see the Blamcons, every single one is actually Blamcon or a Blamcon to be. They're all modeled by us.
Sure. It's
So yeah,
crazy just to look at that and see how much has gone into this. It really is mind blowing. And you do have a Discord. Somebody was just asking, Loco
oh, 100%.
209. Do you have
Yeah.
a is there a link on your
There's
website to it?
yeah, and there's one on
Oh,
our
I see
Prop
it right
3D
there.
site as well.
I'm going to provide you guys with that link right here, actually, because I just tracked it down. And it's the Props 3D one, right?
Yeah. Oh, it said
Okay.
failed to post. I guess I can't post links randomly on your channel.
I don't
I
know
can
why
see
not.
why.
I mean, everybody
That's
can.
probably a StreamYard thing.
Probably. There we go. I can't pin it here, but I'll provide it actually at the end of this. I'll put it into the description of this video so everybody can access it easily there, because this will quickly fly upwards.
Oh, other big point here. I'm just throwing around tons of points. Sorry. It's exciting to finally be able to talk about a lot of this.
No, that's why I'm not saying much today, because I'm intrigued by literally every aspect of this. So it's very actually refreshing that I don't have to talk as much today. I'm just taking it in like everybody else. I mean, there's just so many moving parts and so much being created here that's just phenomenal. I mean, I'm a huge fan of what you're doing.
Well, thank you. And feel free to cut me off if I blather too
No,
much.
no, no, no,
But
not at all.
for accessibility purpose, what you're seeing with the GX16, which is that screw-in connector on the bottom, is what we call and have in the manual as Blamcon Advance. Blamcon Advance uses the core, which again, you can make yourself if you want. We will have plans. And but it is a more involved build. A lot of the, like, if I get a good one, my favorite here. Oh, also, Mike painted. Actually, he did an awesome Cobra one, but
That
Jason
looks really cool.
from Intergram Retro pinched it while he was over. He's a huge GI Joe fan, and so this one here is a Blamcon Basic. It's just USB.
Okay.
It costs a fraction of the amount to build, and it's extremely easy to build. So all Blamcons have a Blamcon Basic option. It doesn't have the recoil. It has a rumble. Basically, it doesn't have the recoil. And I haven't really talked about a lot of the things because, again, I think there's a lot to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the standard Blamcon, there is actually, if I turn the set back on, I may be able to show it on the bottom. You can, yeah, there you go. See the foot pedal there on the floor?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Blamcon Advance uses a GX16 connector, which you can see there, the 4 on the front. And that connector will take your USB signal, your 12-volt signal, and a foot pedal as well. So we have a breakout box it connects to. It's a very simple breakout box. It is 3D printed, and it does have an optional magnetic breakaway connector to prevent people from breaking their friggin' necks on foot pedals, which is a concern for me as a dad. And so, yeah, on Jason's machine here, it's actually hidden under the kick plate. I have 4 foot pedal connectors. So if you make a Blamcon Basic, you are sacrificing recoil. I'm just trying to resize that a little. I'm just going to turn it off. You're sacrificing recoil, you're sacrificing the foot pedal, but you're getting the full Blamcon experience at a fraction of the price, and it's extremely easy to make. So all Blamcons are compatible with Basic and Advanced, depending on which way you want to go.
Okay. And so you're saying with that connection, you don't have to have the separate power supply connection to everything is just going straight through that one shot deal? Because that's something that drives me a little crazy with the gun for IR. You have to have a bunch of different connections for every gun because you want the recoil is a separate connection. So I just did a tour video on just modding this T2 from Arcade 1-Up. And I mean, it just looks like an absolute mess. I've tidied it up since, but there's so many frigging cables in there because, each gun has at least 2 cables. And then the way that the sensors are too, which I like the way you've put together the sensors for Blamcon, you don't have, you just have 2 strips, right? The top and bottom. So you don't have the individual going, side to side and up and down, which is nice because it just makes for even more cables to be kind of hanging loose in the back and all of that. So definitely like the way that you're simplifying everything with that approach.
Thanks. As you can see from the front here, you can see the light gun's just connected with that single cable. That's it. That gives you a foot pedal. It gives you power. It
That's
gives you
awesome.
connection, everything. So
I can
when it comes
appreciate,
to
again, just totally appreciate that with what I've been going through with all these cables that I'm trying to, find homes for now in a relatively small setup too. So, and this is something that I can actually hide stuff in. So imagine a TV where you just have all these cables dangling, and then you have this mess on the floor. I remember when I was doing my retro shooters video review, I was like, I mean, I'm gonna end up. It's like a death trap here with all this stuff that I've displayed to try to show like this goes there and that goes there. It's just insane. So love the fact that you just have it simplified and dialed in like that. It's amazing.
Oh, thanks. I've opened my first computer business in the 90s, and cable management is one of my many eye twitches. So it was
I can
definitely,
understand.
hopefully, reflected in this.
It does for sure. Let's see. Sinden Light Gun has. I'm just reading one of the comments here. Sinden Light Gun has recoil and just uses one cable. This is true. The only thing and actually with Sinden, they have the border instead of the sensors too, which a lot of people are absolutely hate and never really bothered me as much as everybody else. But, in a perfect world, you wouldn't have that, but you have to have, find a home for the individual IR sensors then. So it's kind of a trade-off, I suppose.
Yeah, the other thing got me about Sinden is they have an extremely clever idea is that they charge a capacitor for the recoil. But the capacitor, the standard USB power is generally 500 milliamps, often less. So it can't keep up with your fire rate. So if you have it on semi-auto, it's a good recoil. It's like bang, bang, bang. And then, but if you have full auto, it's like bang, 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 bang.
It trails off. It definitely does. You're right.
But I'm not even stomping on it. It's very clever because single cable setup, which is very good of them. Like it's a very easy experience. I see a lot
It is, yeah.
I was Sinden on the side, but I bought it. I plugged it in. It worked. I got Steam Deck image. What else can you ask for?
Yep, for sure. Yeah, I never had an issue with their stuff. I always liked that it was, as I would call it, plug and play. I know you've mentioned that before. Everybody has a different idea of what exactly that is, but at least with Botticero, for the last few versions that they've put out, it has been very much plug and play. And there we go. Another Sinden fan right there. And I mean, I have 2 Sinden guns myself, so I haven't been covering, them on the channel much lately because all these new ones are, becoming the hot topic, but nothing against Sinden personally. So let's see what else.
Totally works.
Yeah. No. What is your favorite model? What is the biggest ask model-wise? I don't know why I'm reading it over there when I just blew it up big. I'll let you...
The Viper has pretty much outstripped everyone by a factor of 4 on votes, but it isn't my favorite. It's probably the best as a light gun. Like it's had the most thought in it. It has the most features, but my favorite isn't totally done yet because it will be my baby and it will have a lot of work and it's behind a lot of this stuff. So give me a second.
Sure.
Anyone who knows me can guess. No, don't fall.
We don't want to see that. We don't want to see all that come crashing down.
This is my favorite.
What is the number on the side for? Does that count? What does that count?
Okay, so currently this is like a proxy. I can actually show you a bit of the process if you want, because I have a new one I just was working on this week because of community involvement. This is a great thing. I have to say, if you haven't picked it up on it by now, some people say, "Oh, I'm ADHD," and yeah, I short busted for a while because I am very ADHD. Like this is.
I'm with you there. I'm with you.
Fair enough. Creatives tend to be. I think it goes part and parcel with the package. But this will be my baby. This is This is a V3 of 4 versions I generally make. The first one is a fit and finish. I actually got the technical plans for the Thompson machine gun. I built a Thompson machine. I actually have a Thompson machine gun light gun. You can see it in my set. I'm not going to get it because I've been running around too much.
One of them. Yeah.
But that was to basically do a 2-spec Thompson machine gun and then reverse engineer exactly like Bapti, the company that built the pulse rifle, Aliens pulse rifle, by the way, spoiler.
Yep.
And so this is a 2-spec.
I'm a big Aliens fan, so.
Oh, yeah. 2-spec pulse rifle, and I want to build in a whole bunch of cool features like resonant sound, which will have the whole gun vibrate. I have a test on one of my shorts. And but this is a big project. Like it'll fire from an open bolt as well, just like the real Thompson submachine gun. It's going to have so many features. But one thing is, like, again, this is one I still haven't dealt with, the fact that I never even finished the ones that are exact replicas. I don't know how I'm going to handle them. Like with the lawgiver, I got permission from the person who would allow me to do it. I did a limited run, and that's that. I have the mechanical version of this. It's been downloaded over 6,000 times on Thingiverse, freely available. People are still building it. There's still people engaging on the Discord. The mechanical model, by the way, and this is a funny thing, I always end up with the crappiest versions of everything. The one posted on Thingiverse, actually, the shotgun pumps, I have a shell, it'll eject the shell. But this one was where I was developing the mechanism. And when it's done, often it goes to Toy Traders for the displays or to, some other individual. And I end up with the proxy, which is what this is. So I will be making this into what I hope is the ultimate light gun with so many features. I've even been experimenting with Mike on things like smoke effects. And I don't know if that'll make it to this one.
You have thought of everything, or you are in the process of thinking of everything.
Well, why haven't I done it yet? It's because I know the time it'll take, and I just can't afford the time right now. I mean,
sure.
If I may go on to the new model, like this is a new model from this week, because people keep asking me for a repeater semi-auto, which you can see the Auto 9 is. But again, it's not my design. I am replicating someone else's work, so I need to make my own design. So based off of that, part of a SIG, part of a Glock, a little bit of the Helldivers Peacemaker, a little bit of Cyberpunk. This is sort of my new concept design. This is a V1, and this is what I call the Dominator. And this is a proper fit and finish feeling semi-auto repeater pistol. It is just the proxy for now. I just painted it up last night, so my hands are going to be black. But this is sort of how I design. I just want to get, there's no camera in this one. Get the finish down, get the feel down. This has enough space for the solenoid, for the camera, everything like that. Because the funny thing is, with the light gun, with the camera, everybody's using the same camera. The Sen 0158 camera, it's a 12 gauge barrel. So essentially it's a 12 gauge pistol size wise. And then from here, this is the version 2. I literally just glued this one together because I felt this was like, I want these to be like a real thing.
Yeah.
But not too like a real thing. I think this is a bit too like realistic. I don't know. So
I mean, I wouldn't wave it around outside, but
exactly.
It definitely looks on point.
The Viper is again an MP5, but it's very inspired. There's many iterations that took it away from what it is. Those who are into Valorant can see the Valorant, markings on there. So this is the V2. I've taken the grips and made them. Mike came by yesterday and we looked at it. The grip is bigger. It's a little more comfy because he has this big meat hooks. We've got little girly computer nerd hands. So it has the camera proxy. The barrel in this one is actually removable. The lens will be built into the barrel. So you'll be able to slide it out and it shows it there. So most of these will ship, or pretty much all of them will ship with an orange barrel. It's up to you what you do with it after. But we'll have a little show through in there. So if you want to change it, there's a set screw, give it a twist, the holes in there, pop it out, whatever you want, right? So it gives it a little more safety, I think.
Absolutely. More and I saw you had one model that had like a silencer. You had a bunch of mods for it. I forget which one it was.
That was the Viper. Yeah.
It was the Viper. Yeah. I saw with the silencer, and I just thought that looks really cool. Of course, it does make obviously the barrel longer, so if you're playing close to a TV or a cabinet, I would imagine impact that. But what happens with that on the end? Because I didn't look too closely at it in terms of the sensor at the tip. Does it get extended out, or does it come through the end of the silencer that you put on there? How does that work?
It extends through.
Oh, it extends
so
through. Okay.
Yeah, you need to know you're going to be using the suppressor, and then what I do is there's it's not visible here, but there's 2 set screws in here. One is for the barrel and one is for the camera. If you're doing it yourself, you have to orient the camera. There's only one real way up. And actually, the orientation is something that Craig's also built into the LED, which is super cool. Like there's so many features. I'm trying to talk as fast as I can. You see, I'm going to run out of things because one of the amazing things Craig's built into the calibration is it actually validates. A lot of people try to do visualizations for the LEDs, but you don't need it, right? You just need to know where they're working or not. I can't calibrate it if it's not. Actually, I can show you that. He says looking for one with a Viper. Let's see if this works because I'm hooked it up to like a 5-inch screen. The sensors.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, you can go into the calibration mode. Actually, I need to make sure this is recognized by the computer. Put it into calibration mode. You see the light turns up. This light actually is color coded by what you want to do with it. The menu is there. If I push it once, it's now gone into calibration mode, and I accept it to calibrate. And then if I move it around, you'll be able to see that it's changing color. It's green. That means your orientation is correct. So if you have the camera, you can rotate it. Because this is a huge pain in the butt. If you're building your own, how are you going to make sure everything's rotated correctly, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
What's built into the light gun is an orientation check, which is that. And then if you move it around, you'll see it change orange and then change red. If it sees less than 4 sensors, it'll turn orange, which means that, hey, you've got a sensor problem. So when you calibrate it, you know there's a problem. And if it's red, it means you probably should, check it. Oh, Chris, is there GUI to remap lines? There will be.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
No, so it pinpoints the exact issues, which obviously makes it easier because you don't have to go through the trial and error process trying to figure out exactly where you're going wrong. So efficiency is key with everything that you're doing. I mean, it always seems like you're trying to be more and more efficient in every way possible.
Well, the kicker is if I was making these myself or making these in a factory, it'd be like, setting it up. It's far easier, but I'm asking people to make them themselves.
Right.
And you're talking about a broad spectrum of people with a broad spectrum of skills. So over the years we've run Props 3D, we've definitely honed in on, I think, the baseline. I can address a big elephant in the room if you want.
Where's that?
Oh, no, it's something that so many people have asked, and I've never publicly said why. It's a bit of a stinker, but it's a really good one that people don't generally get.
Which question are we looking at?
We're not looking at any question, but we're looking at ones in a lot of people's minds.
Okay.
I hope you don't mind me just ranting on like this.
No, not at all. Listen, it's refreshing for me to get a little break because usually I'm doing all of the trying to orchestrate all of this. It's nice to just, I'm glad that I changed my mic today and I can kind of sit back and let you take the reins here. So I'm all for it. Don't feel like you're overstepping at all.
Fair enough, but just let me know if I am. So many people have asked the simple question, is it open source? Is it open source? Is it open source? And I think a lot of people don't understand what open source is and what it means. It will be freely available. So I'll give you a good example on the Lawgiver. That's open source. That is on GitHub. And we are constantly dealing. When you say something's open source, what you mean is you got to compile it. You have to download some kind of compiler. You have to download the correct extensions. You have to set them up. They're called libraries for Arduino. And if you go to our GitHub, you'll see the extensive instructions we have to get it going. And when something like the Lawgiver, I made a video about it. I go step by step, and still daily there's people having issues. Craig dealt with somebody for 2 days because they got a different variant of the MP3 player and it wasn't working. And he's like, well, have you tried this and tried that and try that? And then eventually it was like, did you copy the audio files? Oh,
it's always something like that.
Yeah. So what we did at Blamcon is like, look, putting it out there like this is we're asking a lot of people, right? And we're like, one of the big changes we have here is everything's on the light gun. So Craig just had this brilliant idea. The light gun has a firmware update mode by itself. If you hold down the secondary button pointed away from any sensors for 10 seconds, it just reboots as like a mass storage device. The firmware is pre-compiled and available from blamcon.com on our Discord. And you just drop it onto the light gun. It will upgrade itself. It'll set itself up.
Wow.
It'll even preserve your settings, and you have the new version. Because we're talking about, when we get this out, we want to be able to iterate quickly. And we're trying to put we're trying not to put pressure on people who have sort of believed in us and, gone the Blamcon route. And it's like, well, this, especially people who buy like completed Blamcons, things like that. How can we make the process dead simple for everybody? And this is the way. There's no copy protect on the firmware. You can copy it, share it, trade it with your friends, whatever you want. But you just hold that button down for 10 seconds. You drop the firmware on, your gun is upgraded. That's it. And it's the same firmware across all Blamcons.
It sounds like anybody idiot could do it, even me, because I, again, am just not good with this stuff. And to have just one button to do all of that, I mean, who couldn't figure that out? That's amazing. Because so many things you have to go through such a intricate process to where, I mean, a lot of people will say, just update this, just update that. And it's like, there's so many moving parts that it becomes this whole thing that, you end up eating away your entire evening trying to do what should be a basic task. But you're simplifying it for everyone. I mean, that's awesome.
Yep. The user experience we're hoping is not even hoping, it works. I mean, I can show you this, but the thing is, to the broader universe as a whole, is you get your Blamcon, you plug it in, there's no software or anything. It just works. And then you can do the calibration in the Blamcon, and then you're like, hey, there's a new version of the firmware out. You just hold the button, you download it. It's like a USB drive. If you can't copy a file to a USB drive, you shouldn't be turning a computer on. It is that simple. It actually pops up on your screen. It works on Mac. It works on PC. It works on Linux. It's just a mass storage device. And that's it. Drop the file on. It will just reboot itself and be ready to go. So it's trying to keep that dead simple experience. And just as a further note too, that's one thing we're actually working very hard with Jason on. This one reason we got that arcade machine from him is because that's his machine. We're tired of that's not our area. Our area is the light gun. So we were working with him, as I said in the beginning, to make sure things like MAME hooker, because to me, that's the transformative experience.
Yeah.
Like it syncs up. If I'm in Operation Ghost and a 3-round burst, it fires 3 rounds. If I switch to semi-auto, it fires 1. If I'm out, it doesn't fire. That is a really cool experience, and it's always been really janky, I think. And
yeah, for sure,
a lot of it is the configuration of the INI files, things like that, but we don't want to go through them all. So we've kind of worked with Jason to create sort of a framework, and he's auditing all those files. Then he's upgrading that machine. Then we just plug our Blamcon in, we do our side, and then we iterate through it until it is perfect. And when it is, we're hoping to, we will not even hoping, distribute the knowledge for other drive builders and other people to be able to do that themselves, to hopefully clean up a lot of the jankiness around this.
Yeah.
I mean, really, if we want this to be a company, if we want this to be something cool and something bigger, light guns are not back. They're still fringe. Ease of use. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Variety of choices, smart people working on it. That's what's going to bring them back. And new IPs.
For sure. That's true. And I think there's a lot of really cool games out there too that a lot of people don't even know about, because it's been hard to kind of pinpoint a good experience with light gun controllers and stuff like that. So really cool to breathe new life into light gun gaming. Because a lot of people, I remember a couple of years ago, our only real option was a Wii remote, and that was far from a great experience, even on, the intended games for it. So let's see. So does anybody else have any questions? Because I do want to jump into the giveaway, which just counted down here, and then we'll get back into this a little bit further. But if you guys have questions, I'm going to actually pull the winner from the Ambernick handheld giveaway here. But in the, while I do that, because I have to refresh a couple things here, let me know what your questions are, because I want to definitely bring you guys into this a little bit more. Chris, what's your favorite cheesecake flavor? So you were here last week. Cheesecake comes up every week since I had Heck and Steve on here. And I don't know, everybody, it's like the trend here. Everybody's always in here talking about cheesecake. So You could tell us what your favorite cheesecake is.
Just plain New York cheesecake.
Same as Retro Ralph. Keeping it subtle here with the choices. New York plain. All right. What do you guys want? What do you guys want to hear? You want to hear some like weird, like fruity pebbles cheesecake, something bizarre? Because that's my favorite too. Like a little strawberry on top. I think we're good. There you go. There's a question, and I'm just going to jump over here and pull the winner for this, but I'll let you hit that up there.
Soon as we can. I mean, the commitment I have has always been the same: is we want to release the Blamcon Viper at first for sale at the same time as the boards. It's the same time as the videos, and it's the same time as the kits. It's all the same process. Me right now building the inventory. Actually, my wife is in the other room right now doing some surface mount solder for the resistors. We're all using SMD components, very clean. We need to build the inventory. At the same time, the inventory builds the process. The lessons learned building the process mean the video will be streamlined, so you'll be able to build your own. So we are very far down this process. Like, I don't know, I don't have the picture on here. I prepared a few pictures, but just showing the racks of Blamcon Vipers we have done. The hydro dip was a bit of a stretch goal, but I think it's needed. But Mike's dipping as we speak. We have dozens of these done, certain components. We have hundreds of them done. Mike's assistant just came by with a whole box of cut carbon fiber, like the Viper, that's real carbon fiber tubing on the back.
Wow.
So we want to be able to launch as a unit with everything. We're focusing only on the Viper because otherwise we're blowing the scope out.
Right.
You see all these around me, but a lot of these are me learning the technology, the way to go, how things work, right? I don't see the point in iterating on a model beyond a certain point. So
that makes sense.
One thing that I've been very clear on, I don't take pre-orders. I'm not taking money from anybody because I don't want to be forced. I'm still waiting for my Vector robot from 2 years ago from Kickstarter. It's the butter passing robot from Rick and Morty. That thing looks awesome. I don't want to be the story of the Kickstarter that
we've seen that play out so many times where that ends up being the case. They get so backlogged with so many people wanting it. It just takes a lifetime to actually get it out to people. So I do want to just announce the winner here. So for the Amernic RG35XXH handheld console, which I have right here, the winner is Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson. All right. Do I have your... All right, it's abbreviated, but I think I could figure out the email there. So if he's in here, shout yourself out here. But we did open this up a couple days early, so not seeing anybody, but I will be. There we go. Oh, no, it's not. All right, well, Jeff, I will send you an email, and we'll get your shipping address and get that sent out to you. All right. Sorry to interrupt there, but just want to get that situated so we are good on the giveaways. So I got to ask you a question, and it's not necessarily totally related, but how do you find the time to do all of this? Because I'm seeing that there's just an absolutely insane amount of work involved in this, but this isn't even like your full-time job, right? This is like your side. Yeah. How do you find the time to do all this stuff? Because that's something I always struggle with, is like balancing out everything that I have on my plate, and I'm not great at doing that. And you also have kids too, I believe, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah,
how do you find the time?
This was painted by my daughter. I put my kids to work. That's how I do it.
Well, she did a phenomenal job.
My youngest has a part-time job sorting screws because I have buckets that need to be done. And how do I find the time? I've been pretty much self-employed since I was 13.
Okay.
I've always lived this kind of life, and to me, this isn't I mean, geez, let's just compare it. How many people here have been sucked into something like World of Warcraft or Skyrim or
Yeah,
something
I'm
like
sure
that?
everybody's sucked into something. Yeah.
Yeah, take all those hours. Take all those hours from somebody who's someone with a job, an addictive gamer, and transpose those into doing something cool. And that's how I find the time. I don't watch
Well
TV.
put.
I don't play games. I mean, the joke of it is, we published our own light gun game, and I barely played it. I don't even have the high score.
It's funny. I can relate to that because I have essentially a gaming channel. I mean, I do a lot more than just gaming on here. And the main focus isn't necessarily the actual games. It's more, how you get to the games, how you play the games. But it's funny, the gaming that I do is what you guys see, on the channel for the most part. I don't have the time to do as much as I'd like to. I love gaming, but it's just there's only so many hours in the day. You have to kind of say, am I going to do this, or am I going to, in my case, focus on content here for the channel and editing and the endless stuff that gets that process going. So I can understand that, but I was asking mainly for advice because I'm always struggling with trying to figure out how to get everything done and keep everybody happy.
Well, one of the big things, I'm addicted to mind maps. I'm addicted to project management boards. Craig and I run one, and very formally. That's the big thing. And it's a would you rather game. It really helps to have, we use the Kanban process, scope out all the work. I mean, this is boring, but it's actually really cool when you get it done, because then you
Yeah.
put all the stuff you have to do. And then rather than looking at a pile of parts and things you have to do, you can see these clear tasks. I
Right.
need to do this before I can do that. Finish that, and then you can get on to the next thing. So that's pretty much the secret to how I get stuff done.
Excellent. Well, it's good advice because I'm just always, it's an uphill battle in every way. Yes, Perfect Storm Gaming. Yeah, I actually watched your video on that, and where's that available?
It's free on Steam.
Like on Steam. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good light gun games on Steam that I feel like nobody knows about. There's just a lot of good stuff on there, and even fairly recent stuff as well. That I assume, I don't know. I don't know if it's just a lot to just kind of take on, how to figure out, all right, this game looks cool. How do we actually, through Steam, figure out how to bring a light gun into the mix? And then, sourcing light guns has been a challenge in many cases too. So I think that all just kind of works against some really amazing games that are out there. So you say you don't game too much, but you obviously are familiar with light gun games to be able to test these out. Is there one that you go to more times than not for testing? Because I'm somebody that just gets stuck in my ways anytime I'm testing a mini PC, a handheld. I mean, people light me up in the comments all the time because I test out the same games. A lot of times I have to break, the habit. But is there a game that is your go-to for testing out your guns?
Yeah, my own game. So I made it.
There you go. Fair enough.
It's literally designed as a speed shooting game that
So you can
tries
test
to get
out
things out
various-
to the edges. Yeah, because
There
the
you go.
edges are always the weak point, and all the games
Oh,
seem to
yeah.
be in the center and have huge hitboxes. So
Now,
yeah,
with your
I
game
can.
for reload, not to cut you off, for reloads, are you shooting off screen with your game, or is it a button to reload,
Oh,
or is it
there's a button
different
to
for each?
reload. There's a button to reload, and with Blamcon, I don't like shoot off screen. It's just point down and up, and then it
Okay.
auto reloads. That is
Okay.
configurable in the gun, though. You can disable that. Because
And you
something
can
like the
probably
Viper, you want
customize
to pull
that.
that magazine. Yeah,
Excellent.
exactly. Yeah,
Exactly.
there's
All
a
right. Sweet.
customization in the menu. Somebody asked that before. There's a menu customization, and we will be having a configuration tool, which is unnecessary because it's all in the gun, but it will give you a lot of cool options. Like that's part of why we did the game. Coming in not too long. I'm not allowed to touch the game until Blamcon is released. I'm going to say that. That's
Gotcha.
the cards, right? I have all the fun ones. Oh, I want to do that. But one of the things I want to do is add all the different Blamcons in there so you can simulate them all in the game. You got the shotgun, 6 rounds. You got to pump it, 2 rounds if you have that shotgun. I haven't shown this one off yet. This is, the pump action shotgun.
I saw that one on there as well.
Yeah, it's a bullpup, so it's very conducive to be a light gun. And yeah, it's got
That's
a
awesome.
full travel pump. And as usual, the camera cuts off at the pump. The standard shotgun goes out to here, which sucks if you want to be, some people want to be right up next to the screen, right? So
Right.
yeah, Mike's paint job again. Dude's
Phenomenal.
amazing.
Phenomenal. Wow. Now, is there a ideal distance that you need to be with Blamcon from your screen, or can you be right up, up close and personal with it? Because I know that it's very different for different, light guns that we've seen previously.
This is going to get on a big rant again. So with a 2 up, 2 down, it should be an ideal for getting close,
Okay.
as close as you can. There is a lens system. You'll see a lens wide angle attached to this, and you'll see the usual extra wide angle attached to this. All Blamcons are compatible with the standard lens system, and they do have CNC machined ones as well that I'm making on my lathe that are precision accurate for those who are as snotty as I am about those things. But if I may, I'll show you yet another toy, which is way over here. Oh, I'm gonna drop things. Data is king, sir. I have this gizmo. I have powered sliders, and this is one of the many things that I can keep grabbing if you ask me technical questions. But this is a Blamcon core tester.
Okay.
It has the GX16 here. It has a camera here, but it also has pan and tilt head with angles on it.
Oh,
It
wow.
allows me to also adjust your tilt. It allows me to adjust all angles. And what I will be doing is scientifically giving you an answer to that question. I have a jig that I can adjust the sensors in on to simulate different TV sizes. I'll be going
Excellent.
up to 120
So you could find the sweet spot on anything then. That's pretty
Yes,
exciting.
and I will be publishing that data and let you know at this distance you will need this lens. But I can tell you, I can get right up with a wide angle lens. I'm like just you. I haven't published any videos, I think, with the new machine, but I'll have one up soon. Like you, I'm going to be inspired by you. I was thinking of doing a Blamcon Plays series and showing the best light gun with the best game as my excuse for playing a game. So thank you.
You should do that. You could, I mean, the content that you could make off of all this is just unlimited. I mean, there's just so many ways that you can, display what you're doing, and I think it would just suck people right in. Orlando, virtual tennis, Virtua Tennis, that's my go-to when I'm testing stuff out, and people always say I love tennis games. It's that game specifically. I go to that for everything because you can test out a lot from that, or like certain racing games for me, you can really test out like specs on a mini PC and what the capabilities are. So makes sense that you test out your game that is geared towards the certain things that you're looking to test out with the guns.
Sure. There's certain things like very small targets, but I also have a hit indicator that just tells you where it is. So when you're looking through a red dot, you can see very visually that it's lined up. So there's a lot of testing involved, obviously. Something like this.
I can see that. That's for sure. Well, it's great that you're able to do all of that too. Because one thing that I had an issue with, we were talking about Sinden before. I've had a good experience with them, but I have a 75-inch screen TV that I just installed in this little studio space not that long ago, and I had a terrible experience with Sinden on that because even when I'm far away from it, there's something about the tracking with it being so big. When I go for like an off-screen reload, it takes forever to figure out where I am after I bring it off screen, try to reload and come back in. So that's where they could benefit from something like what you have there.
Do you want a little mini rant?
Yes,
going on too
love
much?
No, go for it.
See, there's another issue here that people are always looking for the best LEDs. The Osram definitely have the highest output, but they are a 60-degree LED. You can actually buy LEDs in 30 degree, 60 degree, up to 120 degree. Okay. And, when you talk about distance in light, it's an exponential decrease. So is there one LED to rule them all? Like if I want to get this close to the screen and I'm on a wide angle screen and this is a 60-degree LED mounted very high, hold your phone up. You'll be able to see the LEDs with your phone. Often when you get close, they'll just dim out. And then that's why it's not working, So you have to angle them down. But then it also comes to the question, do I really need to look at getting 120-degree LEDs for those who just want to scratch their screen up with the tip of their gun, or 30-degree LEDs for those who want to play from their neighbor's house, right? These are all featured experiments.
This is true.
These are definitely the best output though. These Osram ones, I can buy 100 of AliExpress ones for one of these, but boy, when I tested it,
Well,
they're bang on.
yeah. Well, you see the difference and why it is that way then. All right, let me just see if we have any other questions in here. If anybody has any questions, hit us up now. Is Blamcom compatible with RetroBat? Well, I would assume so because RetroBat would be, on Windows. So I would imagine so.
Yeah, it should work. Like again, a lot of
Oh,
people
there
have
we go.
offered me images. I'm going to give a shout out to Chris Coolmod as well because he's pretty awesome and he sent me his. And I feel a little bad that I really haven't tested with it a lot. But my deal is creating these light guns. And you're talking about, how do you manage your time? I
Yeah.
can get lost in a lot of things. I need to keep those horse blinders on and keep
Yeah.
focused. So
No,
I
I'm the
will,
same way.
Chris, be testing your drive. I will be working with you to get it plug and play, and we will be doing it. But it's just like right now, again, my beautiful wife's in the
Yeah.
other room setting up for surface mount soldering later. I need to make some Blamcons right now,
Yeah, for sure.
And by the
And
way,
I will
about the
say,
guns,
no, go ahead. Go ahead. No, I
oh,
was just gonna
somebody
say you can
mentioned,
definitely get lost in Chris Coolmod's setup there. I mean, I've spent quite a bit of time just combing through even just a fraction of it. There's so much in there to get lost in. So I can understand having to put the blinders up specifically with that to
yeah,
keep
but
yourself from
frankly,
going down the rabbit hole.
yeah, like here, actually, speaking of somebody said a gun 5 times larger, this is one of the many
Wow.
references in Toy Traders. This is Paul Beeks standing beside me. Well, I guess they're both standing. He's the gentleman on the end there in I can't remember the shirt, the marshmallow shirt. That's Jason. He
Okay.
actually flew out during Fan Expo to actually test Blamcons with us. And
Okay.
again, I was originally a customer of Jason. And right now we just need to get Blamcons done, and he is working hard with us to help us fill in the gaps with emulators, with compatibility, with MAME hooker, all of that. So,
Excellent.
and that's what we need to get done right now. Like, if I get lost in Chris's amazing build, you won't see me for a month or two, and you'll still be asking, "Hey, where are those Blamcons?"
Yeah.
Like, dude,
When are
I'm
they
playing the
available?
850,000th game on Chris's build. Shut up. So I will get around to it and we will be accelerating. Like, I will be getting helpers eventually. I mean, that's some people are like, well, you farm it out. It's like, well, if you want quality and you want
Oh,
process, you need to
that's
do
yeah.
a certain number yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the biggest issue when stuff gets farmed out, especially too soon. I think that's when you really have some major issues and start dealing with, a whole bunch of other things that you're going to have to add to your plate too. So that makes
Exactly.
sense.
So when that process is smooth, when Blamcons are coming out, you'll see a lot more videos. And as you say, I have a lot queued up. But I mean, the
Absolutely.
Would You Rather game says, I definitely need to do a Blamcon over. Oh, the sad story before Fan Expo, we did a Blamcon overview video. It was great. And Craig is not local. He's over on a faraway island. He came over, we filmed the whole thing, and I had a corrupted SSD
Oh,
knocked out. So much footage. And
oh
yeah,
wow.
we just haven't had the time. He's got to be in the video. I mean, Craig's done so much of this. It's not going to be just me
Yeah.
in the project overview video. So I still have yet to have him come out by plane, train, and automobile
Yep.
to do another take. It's the
Well,
kicker on this whole YouTube media thing. It's so reliant on your tech stack.
it is. It is for sure. All right. Let's see. That's for Chris Coolmon. All right, guys. Well, I think we've touched on everything. I definitely want to have you. First off, want to certainly thank you for joining me tonight. I know we've put in some time on this, and thank you so much for sharing all this with us. I definitely want to have you come back on if this wasn't too much for you, and give us some updates in the future too, because I'm dialed into what you're doing. I love it. When you get to the point where you want somebody to test this stuff out further with you, not that you need anybody else, but I'm here for you. I'd love to test out what you guys are working on too, and see what the Blamcon experience is. So, but you've got plenty of that being done over there on your end. So,
we'll make sure we connect with you and work something out. Thanks
Sounds
for having
good.
me on, Chase. This has
Yeah,
been awesome.
absolutely.
It's great to talk about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we'll have you on again if you're up for it, in a couple months or so when you have some more stuff to share with us. And certainly fun. I mean, I could spend a couple hours with you just going through what you have right behind you, let alone what you have, in the other room there. So
Oh, before we go, I just
yeah,
one fun thing. I'd like to give a shout out to the Like on Lunatics group. I'm sure all of us here in
I've
the
heard
Light Guns
wonderful
are there,
things.
and they're amazing. I'm actually going to be providing from the first run, one of the very first Blamcons is a contest free giveaway to somebody
Awesome.
on there. They've just been so supportive of this. And, we're not working in a void, right? Even though we have a team of 4, which is amazing, there's a massive community there and they've been awesome, just giving us suggestions and what makes a great light gun, giving us feedback. A lot of the guns here come from their suggestions and the suggestions on
Awesome.
Discord. So thank you to all
Excellent.
the lunatics. I mean, a bunch of them even came out to Fan Expo to try it in person. They're just an awesome bunch. So thank you.
That's awesome. It's always great to have, a community like that that supports you and that can kind of serve as your R&D, in a lot of ways. So really cool to have that to rely on and use as a resource. So I can certainly understand that. All right. Any other questions before I let Chris go? Looks like we're good here. Lunatic. You know what? I'll provide a link because I'm aware of that. Actually, I'll get it from Perfect Storm Gaming over here, who I believe is part of that group. There you go.
Yeah. Thanks again
right.
to Perfect Storm
Yeah.
Gaming and Vito for connecting us up too.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Vito, for that. Really appreciate that. Good dude, for sure. And a great channel, too. They have some great streams. And you guys have a stream coming up in what, like 8 days, 7 days? I'll have to check that out. All right, man. Well, thank you so much again. And we'll definitely stay in touch. Actually, I have some questions about 3D printing I'm going to bug you about in an email soon. So now you have to deal with
one
me.
more goodbye. Somebody posted in the chat. Yes, we are a team of 5. My wife helps out. She actually drew all the graphics for the game. Thank you for reminding me. Team of 5.
There
She
you
doesn't want to
go.
be on the website though. Silent partner.
Well, she's in the other room working still, so definitely got to shout her out. All right,
I'll be joining her in a few minutes. So thanks again.
Never ends, never ends. All right, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right, thanks,
I'll let
Chase.
you go.
Take care.
I'm gonna. All right, you too. All right, guys, that was awesome. Just to learn so much about what goes into that process and what they have going on there. And yes, Vito, thank you so much for the introduction to him. It was a big help. And I love that we can kind of go week by week and kind of build on it. I mean, he was in the live chat last week watching Retro Ralph and I, so it's a nice nice way to just kind of bring the next week in. So they definitely are awesome. I can agree with you there 100%. That's why and it was nice tonight to just kind of sit back and just listen. And I feel like I was part of the audience today. It was great. He's so knowledgeable about all this stuff, and there's just so many moving parts. Then it's just nice to learn a bit about all of it. So, do you guys have any questions for me or anything like that? Because I was just going to hang back for a little bit and chat with you guys. It's only 62 of us now, but I kind of like the low key, sort of quiet, calm after, the larger crowd is present. Oh, okay. Perfect. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about the Light Gun Lunatics group. Very much, very much. Tired? I'm always tired. I'm always tired. My lighting is off tonight though too, so that maybe I look like sickly. I noticed that because I changed my setup a little bit, but my issue is that I have the camera actually because I don't want to like be looking a different direction. I have the camera in front of my screen. So it's kind of making me look like extra pale today. My lighting is like behind that, so I think it's kind of throwing everything off. But I'm always tired. I don't sleep much. I was just kind of I just changed the whole setup. Actually, last week was the first time I moved over to this location, and I moved my desk over. And I just felt like I had to keep like leaning forward last week, so I figured I'd just kind of take it over here. Hopefully, I'm not rattling it too much. I know I was just rattling it a second ago, but just trying new things and trying to. I figured I'd be sitting back a little bit more tonight because I'll be honest, I don't know anything about any of the inner workings of light guns or 3D printing or any of that stuff. So I'm just asking like idiot questions, just trying to learn um, and retain whatever I can. But yeah, figured I'd get comfortable today, sit back and relax a little bit. Need cheesecake stat. There we go. That's not a bad idea. When do I think it'll be released? I'm not sure. I mean, it just seems like there's so much going into that, which is awesome to see, and they're super efficient. The attention to details seems to be amazing by this entire team. So I don't think that they're going to rush to put anything out. That's the vibe that I got, but we'll see. Only time will tell. I don't get the impression that they're, usually we see like these products where it's a legit like business behind it that wants to, see return on investment and stuff like that. With that process, you see that they rush stuff out the door, and usually they have issues as a result of that. I don't get that vibe here. Like I don't get like you know, that they're looking for money out of this. You know what I mean? Like everything is offered for free. If you are a 3D printing, person, then you can do all of this stuff basically on your own. Besides, obviously having that, that board to add into it. But yeah, I don't know. I guess time will tell. If time wasn't an issue, what game would you want 100%? In terms of like what game would I want to play? Um, I assume that's the question. Wow, I got behind on the live chat. My bad. You know, I like to play through like entire series of games. Like I've played through Halo. Like I haven't actually played all the way through the last release, as bad as that sounds, because I am a huge Halo fan. But I like to play through entire series of games, like from the first one all the way through. So I would probably just pick something that like maybe Gears of War or something like that I haven't played through in a really long time. And even I don't think I even played the last two or three releases from that franchise. So if time wasn't an option, I would play through a bunch of different franchises, top to bottom. Makes sense. And I mean, I think that it just speaks volumes of, the people involved here where, that is the focus here. Can you play like gun games on a Raspberry Pi 5? Yeah, you can. You can. I mean, you could play a lot of light gun games on even a Raspberry Pi 4. I think a Raspberry Pi 3, you could play a lot of them. I won't say that it's a great experience on everything. You probably can't get, like, you wouldn't get a good experience on like a PS2 title, like Time Crisis 2, for example. I don't know about a Raspberry Pi 5, but with a 4, it wouldn't be possible. So there's definitely limitations there, but yeah, I mean, in theory, you definitely can. It depends on what you're emulating through and what light guns you're using, but it sounds like Blamcon's going to be plug and play. Skyrim, I don't remember off the top of my head. I'd have to look at that, and I don't think I have that drive anymore either. That's an awesome question. I try to be positive. Um, I've done some videos that just annihilate some products, but I will say this, like everything that I review, you guys get like my honest take on it. I'm pretty positive with most things, but I try not to be overly negative because like the plug and play game drives, for example, I'm always I'm always big on setting up your own drive. Even, the best ones out here. Like Chris Coolmont has an amazing one. But if you can kind of streamline your setup and you can get the best of what you're going to actually play, you can save yourself a lot of time. You can save yourself a lot of money. So I always will advocate for setting up your own, but there's a lot of game drives out there that I do reviews on. And the reason I do those is because a lot of people want to know what they can get into without having to spend, countless hours setting up their own setup. But there's setups that I'm not a huge fan of personally, but it's nothing against like their setups or how they're put together or what they offer, because everybody has a different take on what they're looking for. So I try to be positive for that reason, but there's been a few times where, to answer your question point blank, there's been a few times where I just didn't do a video because I felt bad because there was just nothing good about it. Um, but usually I don't sidestep an entire video. There's been a few cases where I just did do what felt like a hit video where I just totally, um, ripped into them for everything that they did. I recently did one on actually the Kinhank. Was it the Kinhank console? Wasn't great. It wasn't one of the brutal ones. I forget which one it was where I just totally bashed it. But the good thing about that was the company reached out to me and I saw it in my inbox. I can't even remember which one it was, but I had a email like 2 hours after the video premiered from the company that was putting it out, and they were in China or something like that. So I opened it thinking that they were going to be, obviously very pissed off at me, and they weren't. They were actually very receptive to everything that I said, and they said they were going to actually pull the product and they were going to work on it again and give it another shot. Never heard back from them again, but um, you know at least they were receptive to what I had to say. I do have to do that. You're absolutely right. I'm going to dive into that for you. There's been so many things on my plate lately, but I'm finally catching up on things, so I'm going to dive into that and I actually have your drive in here. It's not connected currently, but it is sitting in there, so I will dive into that and tour through that stuff because I did leave that off of the first tour video. So I will try to get that done this weekend. Actually, it's on the top of my list, but yeah, it's been a crazy couple of weeks here. But finally, feel like I'm getting through everything, and moving forward, I've actually decided to not do less content, but I'm taking in like less stuff for like review stuff because I want to do stuff that's like more exciting to me. Less of like controller reviews and stuff like that. Like the mini PC reviews, I really enjoy doing. So I'm going to keep doing those. I'll probably do more of them because I feel like I haven't done a review on a mini PC now in like 2 weeks. Just been kind of catching up on the other stuff. I appreciate that, Chris. Thank you so much. And everybody is very appreciative of your generosity and the stuff that you've put out too. So thank you so much. Certainly a lot to comb through on there in a good way. There's just literally every single collection is just jam packed with some of my favorite games. And there's something for everybody there. Yeah, so usually I just give stuff away. So once in a while, when I buy stuff and I want to just kind of, get recoup some money to buy something else, I'll sell stuff. But for the most part lately, I'll be honest, I've been lucky that, you guys tune in every week and, people tune in every day for videos that I put out. So, this whole YouTube thing has been very good to me. So it does help with me being able to go out and buy more stuff to do reviews of. And I like doing that more so than obviously everybody likes free stuff, but I feel like it's just a better experience for me personally if I buy something and then I get it in and I review it and it's, something that I shelled out money for just because to me it's a more authentic experience. And I also, if it's a bad experience, I don't feel bad about, trashing, the product if that's the way it has to go. Luckily, though, I've had a good run where the majority of the stuff that I've gotten, I'm pretty selective with what I get for review videos. So I haven't gotten a lot of crap. Like sometimes those like fanless plug and play consoles are pretty crappy, but the last one I got actually had pretty good performance. Well, they just shut down Yuzu, so I know that much. I think we all heard about that. I did a video, I think like a week ago, talking about that whole thing. That one does not surprise me though. I don't think that they're just going after people for no reason. I mean, Switch is their most recent, obviously, and they're still making, games for Nintendo Switch. So when stuff gets leaked and people have the option to play a game on their PC and not buy, a console from Nintendo or the game from Nintendo, then of course they're going to come after them. So, not at all surprised about that. I was kind of surprised that Yuzu just decided to kind of fold up and give into it because they're not distributing. I mean, it's a controversial thing. Emulation in general is super controversial with copyright and trademark violations and stuff like that. But no, oh, and no, sorry, banging into all the cables here. Um, yeah, I mean, to miss a video here, it's not hard to do. I put out a lot of content, so no problem there. But yeah, not surprised by the whole Yuzu thing. Yeah, well, there's going to be tons of replacements, I think, because anything that goes onto the internet doesn't just because Yuzu's removing it or whatever, and they're not going to advance it any further. It doesn't mean that people. I mean, I have drives with Yuzu on there. Anybody could resurrect that quite easily, but I mean, does it make much sense to do that? Because they're just going to go after whoever picks it up and runs with it. But yeah, Suyu would be a good name. That'd be a solid choice there. Why is it so hard to get Carnival to run in MAME? I got Carnival right there. Is it still on that? Yeah. It's one specific MAME that it works on. It won't work on all of them. And I think that it just depends on what you're trying to get it going on. So I have a Batocera drive that I put together a couple years ago in my arcade one up right now. And I just have to manually switch it to that one specific emulator. I forget which one it is. I don't know if I could easily check that out on here. Probably not. But yeah, you have to have one specific MAME version to properly run it. But you also have to go through, and it's not the case for everything. I think actually Chris Coolmod setup, you don't have to go through the extra steps. But with Batocera, you actually have to go in and bring a keyboard into the mix, hit tab, and you have to go through a the input settings in there like you would if it was like the original arcade cabinet. In fact, I have a video tutorial on that because I got that question so much from people that I decided to do an actual video. Let me see if I can actually find that for you. Where would it be? In fact, I just put this setup in here and I had to make some adjustments for player 2. So what's funny is I had to go onto YouTube and try to pull up my own video to use as a reference because it's been a while since I actually did this. So I always feel like a fool watching my own tutorial video, like step by step, to try to figure out how to get things running properly. All right, so this is going to probably come through. Oh, I muted it already. All right, so I'm going to give you a link actually to my video on this. Maybe this will help you getting Carnival up and running. But I go through it pretty in depth there to show you step by step exactly what you have to do, at least on Batocera. But I think it would be comparable on anything else as well. Citra is done for too. Yes. I didn't hear specifically too much about that one, but I know it was kind of bundled with the whole Yuzu situation. Any recommendations for a light gun for my setup? So Batocera I love for light guns. I mean, you can go with like the Chris Coolmod light gun setup, which is very good as well, and it has way more stuff, way more of the later releases, Techno Parrots on there. So you certainly can't go wrong with all of that. But if you're looking for just like the old school stuff, you can go with Batocera. That's what I'm using in this cabinet currently. I also have Chris Coolmod set up in there too, but Batocera is great. It works very well with pretty much any of the light gun options out there. I've had a great experience with Sinden on there, but Sinden isn't great with some of the other, ways to emulate. So it just depends what you want to settle in on in terms of, a platform for emulation. If you go Batocera, Sinden is awesome. I have Gun for IR right here, which I've absolutely loved. The downside, which is also the advantage depending on how you look at it, is you need the IR sensors. You need IR sensors for, well, we know for Blamcon today, you'll need those for that. You also need it for Gun for IR and retro shooters, which can be a pain in the ass as to where you would place them. So, like, I have a 75-inch screen. Obviously, I'm not using them on that currently, although I suppose I could if I got another set of IR sensors, but you have to place those on your screen. So, with Gun for IR, you have to have them on top, bottom, left, and right, like centered on your screen. For trying to think back because I don't have the retro shooters with me at the moment. With retro shooters, you have to do the four corners, if I'm not mistaken. With Sinden, you don't have to, but you have a white border on the outside. So if you watch that video that I just linked to in the live chat, you'll see the white border because I'm using Sinden in that video on Batocera. So you can kind of compare the difference there. So yeah, that's your options. You just kind of have to weigh out the pros and cons and what you're looking for. But they're all, I mean, the performance is good with all of them. I find that Gun for IR is probably the best in terms of tracking on screen, response time. But, setting up the sensors is kind of a pain in the ass a little bit. You have two different cables for that. You have the USB to connect the actual gun to your PC, and then you also have the power supply portion of it too to actually get the recoil. So you have two different cables that you have to bring into the mix. And then the price point too. I mean, prices are kind of all over the place with Gun for IR because they're limited. Sinden's a little bit cheaper, I think. Retro shooters, I think you can get them without like the console that comes with it. The what's it called? The Pandora box. So if you get it without that, they're not going to break the bank completely. Solid question, and thank you for the contribution there. You know what? I like Launchbox a lot. Launchbox, big box. Retrobat I like a lot because it's very similar to Batocera, but it's, you'd use it through Windows, so that's good, and it has some more capabilities than Batocera. I'm just so used to Batocera, and for me, a lot of people ask me, like, why do you use Batocera over Retrobat when you can get into more with Retrobat? For me, I like what I like, and I've talked about this a little bit previously. I like getting into the same stuff, and I don't explore a lot of new stuff, and if I do, it's for a limited amount of time. So Batocera I'm able to get into exactly what I want to get into with that. So I already have it set up. So that's usually why I go that route. And I'm most familiarized with it personally. So for me, it's probably Launchbox, Batocera, Retrobat. I just like the layout of Batocera and Retrobat. It's just very user friendly, very easy to navigate. So yeah, those are probably my three go-tos. And a lot of people love Launchbox, and I like it. I just don't like the aesthetics of it as much. I don't like the layout as much. It's just, I don't know, it's not as many bells and whistles, I suppose. I think I missed the. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I mean it's strange for sure, and I think to kind of combat the whole emulation thing, yeah, people want access to. I think there's always a difference with some people believe that emulation is big because yes, it's free. You can get free access to games. You can set everything up, and that's always obviously advantageous to people. But for me, I would pay money if I could get into stuff easier. Like for example, I'm a big Indiana Jones fan. For anybody that doesn't know, I just built an Indiana Jones cabinet here. Um, they have the Xbox release, which is I'm blanking on the name, even though it's right on the shelf over there, the Emperor one. It doesn't emulate that well. Even if you have like the best PC, it's just not flawless emulation because you jump into it through Xbox. So I wanted to play that game. So I have an original Xbox console. I don't use it very much, but I looked into playing it, getting the actual physical game from, whatever it is, 20 something years ago. And then you're rolling the dice on, okay, it's priced at like $15 at the time. Is the game going to work? Even if it works and it boots up, is it going to play completely all the way through without issues? It's a roll of the dice. You never really know until you get to that end of the game, and all of a sudden you can't get past the last level because it's got some issue with it. The other option is it's actually one of the few original Xbox games that is backwards compatible, and Xbox or the Microsoft Store, whatever, whatever it is, offered it for $9.99. So I actually bought it from Xbox for, on my Xbox Series X for $9.99. It was cheaper than getting the actual physical copy of the game from 20 whatever years ago. And I was going to have a good experience with it, whereas emulation would be free, but it wasn't as good. So in that case, I'm gladly going to pay $9.99 for the game. I have it on my Xbox Series X. It works great, and I can jump into it at any point in time. The problem is these companies don't make these games readily available in that way. So they want to kind of safeguard their, what is licensed to them, which I get, but they don't provide access to it in any way other than emulation. So, if they opened everything up and just said, here's, for X amount of dollars a month, you have access to every single game we've ever created, then I think then emulation, wouldn't be getting the traction that it clearly has now. Brad's good. Brad's good. He's not down here today, which has actually been nice for the vacuum because anytime he sits on this couch that I'm sitting on right now, I have to vacuum it for like 10 minutes straight. So, yeah, he's good though. What did he do yesterday? Was it him? Oh, he was. I got one of those like Endemann's coffee cake things. It's like I could mess up like a whole tray of that in like one sitting. It's a real problem. But I got one of those the other day, and what was I doing? I was down here doing something. Was it last night? Yeah, last night. So I was playing Fortnite with Joe from Perfect Storm Gaming, and I heard like all this ruckus upstairs. And I mean, my house is chaos anyways because I have 3 kids. My wife who I won't say anything bad about her because she's probably watching this. And then 2 dogs. I used to have 3 dogs, and one passed about a year ago now. So chaos always here. So things crashing and banging are never. Sorry, I was reading a comment. Are never out of the ordinary here. But he ended up reaching out and grabbing the whole tray of the Endemann's coffee cake, and he ate the whole thing. So I had like probably enough of it, but so he stole that the other night, but he's doing very well, obviously. That's right. You're not wrong. They got a victory. Yeah, we had a good match. Yeah, it couldn't have gone any smoother last night too. I won't say we did bomb on the first one. We played for like 20 minutes and didn't even come across any players, and then the one player that we crossed paths with just annihilated both of us. But our second one, we won. Yeah, that was cool. That was actually my personal best too. I was clipping little segments for future short videos from that left and right. This live chat is acting up at my end. Yeah, that would suck. That would Skate 2 and 3. I love those games. I haven't played those in a long time. Just trying to find what that was in. Missed the first part of that. Technoparrot runs actually very well on there. I haven't had issues with that. I tried to jump into, what was it? PS3 I wasn't having any luck with. They just weren't opening for me. But yeah, Technoparrot's been really good, actually. I haven't had any problems with that. And that's probably what I've used the most on there. The Jurassic Park game is really great. What else? Even Terminator, I didn't have any issues with that one. Actually, the first time it seemed like it stuttered a little bit, and then I just exited out, jumped back into it, and it was good. Pretty smooth. So yeah, that's definitely what I jump into the most, though. Technoparrot. I love those games, and I used to enjoy those at the arcade, and Always a big Raw Thrills fan myself. So, but I tried to jump into the House of the Dead, the remake one, and it couldn't handle that. And I think that's the PC. It's just not powerful enough for that one. But Technoparrot, no issues. And I actually had a buddy of mine that's been doing the racing games on there. I have a racing wheel, but it's not compatible with. I guess it's just not compatible with that. But my buddy's got a racing wheel, and it's actually one that I reviewed here on the channel. And he's been jumping into like all the racing games on there through Technoparrot, but not obviously the Light Gun Technoparrot games. And he said it's awesome. He loves that Mario, Technoparrot Mario Kart racing game. Yeah, I don't play too much Switch, but I will say, Switch emulation is pretty good. Yeah, that's we have to like put the dogs in, this actually my little studio area here whenever we eat dinner because yeah, they'll just jump in and grab whatever they can. And we'll put stuff like we have a massive island in our kitchen, and we'll put stuff like dead center in the middle, and somehow that's where the coffee cake was. Somehow they figure out how to get there. They'll eat out of the sink, everything. I mean, they're not civilized. Oh, definitely. Willy Wonka of the line. That is a great way to put it, for sure. Yeah, he that's why like tonight I feel like that's why I'm staying a little bit later tonight to talk because I feel like I didn't do much talking and I'm saying that in a good way. Just fascinated by everything he's got going on and not even just like the tech behind the light guns, but just like the thought process and the follow through with everything that he's doing to make it efficient, to make it, available for everybody. He's just checking so many boxes in the process. It's just fascinating to listen to him, talk about everything that goes into that whole experience and the development of everything. Yeah, Mario Kart DX. Yep. Sorry, I'm just playing catch up now. I don't see like everything come in sometimes on the live chat, so I'll see like responses to stuff, and then I have to like go up and figure out like what people are responding to and stuff like that. So, yeah, yeah, I haven't tested everything out there. Um, was it a light gun game? That's the thing with emulation too. Like some people get really upset when something doesn't, pan out for them. But that's emulation at the end of the day. It's not perfect. So take care, Biggie. Thank you for joining us. We're gonna wrap it up momentarily, but again, I just wanted to kind of hang out and chat with you guys a little bit more because I felt like I was just taking it all in today, which was cool. No worries. It's always you can always play it back too, which is cool about the streams there. I think as soon as I'm done, you can start them over. Yeah, so he was actually I'll let me see if I can find the video. I reviewed it not too long ago. It's actually a official like PlayStation. It's like I think it's the only official like PlayStation wheel and pedal combo, and it doesn't like break the bank either, which is pretty cool. Let me see if I can find it in my order history because I'm actually doing. I have this Camus racing wheel that I've been setting up, but I tried to use it with a Thrust Master pedal setup, which was really cool. But unfortunately, they're not compatible with each other without like a special adapter. It's actually two adapters that you need to bring them together. So I was kind of going through that whole process the other night for hours on end. I was about to get these adapters, and then I'm like, you know what? Let me just get the right. Let me just get a Camus set of pedals, and then I'll have like everything be one brand, and it just makes way more sense. So let me just open up my Amazon. Yes, so it's the Hori Racing Wheel. Great name. And it's compatible. It's made for PS4 and PS5 and also PC. So it won't work with Xbox, but it works from what I hear anyways, I didn't test it firsthand, but it works plug and play with TechnoParrot on Chris Coolmod setup. Yeah, my buddy has been playing a lot of the Mario Kart on there. So here's the direct link to that racing wheel if you're looking for something that would be playable there. Yeah, so that makes sense why it's working with that. Yeah, I did a review video on it. I'll see if I can find it might be actually on there, on the Amazon page there. Just got to scroll down forever. Not seeing it. I'll look it up. Yeah, I had a great experience with it. I actually jumped into Batocera because this was prior to me having Chris Coolmod set up, so I didn't have it at the time. So I tested it out myself with Batocera, and it was plug and play there. I didn't have to go in and map anything. I think a couple of games I had to map just the buttons because it has like the shape buttons since it's made for PlayStation 4 and 5. Let me just look this up. My multitasking skills aren't great. Why I can't find my own video here. Yeah, so I had to map a couple buttons for like a certain, I think maybe Dreamcast I had to do it. Here it is. So I'll give you guys the link to this video that I did so you can see it in action, but I'm testing it with Batocera. But again, plug and play there for the most part. Thank you so much for joining us. There we go. So there's the direct link to that one. Sweet. Yeah. Yeah, my buddy Jose is the one that was testing it out. And he was trying to add the Fast and Furious games to his TechnoParrot setup too. And I'm not sure if he ever got them. I'm not sure if he ever got them up and running with TechnoParrot. I think that was a challenge. I think they were launching, but they were, I don't know, something was out of whack with it. I'll have to ask him what it was. That's the thing. I've been so busy with different videos the last couple weeks. I really haven't jumped into anything beyond like the 2 cabins I've been working on, and just started with this new racing wheel that looks really promising, but it's more limited with what it'll work with. Oh, nice. Yeah, that's been my latest thing. Actually, if I slide over here, will the camera follow me? So you can see the wheel right here, and it's a really nice quality wheel. Lots of different buttons on here, and this is a rig that it has a spot below for the pedals. But what's cool is you could just pull that up because I didn't want to have like something that was going to take up a ton of space. So I can just pull this up to my gaming chair and it lines up perfectly. I actually drop it just a little bit to make it a little more comfortable. Oh, nice, Chris. That'll be cool. So how many Fast and Furious games are there? There are 3? I know there's at least 2. And I think they're raw thrills too. Always like their games, especially racing games. Yeah, I'm picky with racing games, and like not all racing games, but with like the arcade style ones, I want them to obviously be played with a wheel because that's how you would play them in the arcade. So yeah, that'll be cool. Definitely stream it. I'd like to see that. And you must be using TechnoParrot for that then. Yeah, he's got a great video that shows the Blamcon game. Blamcon game. There we go. Nice. Check that out. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to call it a night. Thank you guys so much for joining me though and sticking it out for this might be the longest one. I feel like we've been pushing it a lot lately with the length of these, but 218 so far, 219 almost. So definitely a good one here. So thank you guys so much for, the continued support and for, checking out the live stream tonight. Of course, thank you to Chris. That was a great conversation about Blamcon and everything that's going on kind of behind the scenes there. I definitely want to bring him on in the future too, if he's willing, because there's just so much going on there, and I think the advancements that they're going to be making are going to be really cool to kind of follow and track. So, um, as for next week, I'll be here again, same time. I've actually been going back and forth with who was going to be the guest next Friday, and then things kind of changed. He had some conflicts with his schedule, so we're trying to figure out bringing in another night into the mix. I don't want to give too much away in case it doesn't pan out, but it was an exciting guest, and I'll figure out somebody for next week. I actually have a couple people in mind, so I will have the usual, sort of announcement video beginning of the week, probably Monday or Tuesday, as to who will be on next week. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So definitely stay in the loop. I will keep you guys updated. And tomorrow, what do I have for a video? I have a video edited. What is it? I don't think I finished uploading it, but tomorrow I'll have a video review on actually this gaming headset that I picked up on Amazon. And what else did I have? Some other stuff. Probably Sunday I'll have another video. So definitely stay tuned, and I'll announce again the guest for next week and all that good stuff by probably Tuesday or Wednesday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, somewhere in there. So, all right, guys, thank you guys so much. Have an amazing weekend, and I will see you guys next Friday, if not sooner. Take care, guys.